I predicted the future completely and utterly accurately my entire life.
Andrew Tate reveals who controls the world.
And also the influence I have over the one demographic they're most fearful of, the young military-age males. So those are the ones you need to be the backbone of the slave force and build the roads for a shit wage. If you say the wrong thing or think the wrong thing, you're gonna be punished for it. I was involved in some shady things. I've been in rooms with people who sit around and say, this guy's a problem.
Is this like what might have happened to Diana?
Well, we've tried to talk to him. He won't talk. He's unreasonable. Okay, get rid of him.
I challenge him on misogyny and sexism.
I'm a crazy misogynist. When the woman's still sucking dick, dinner's on time, there's not a girl I look at that I want that I can't have. You want a fucking Ferrari? You can have it. You want that bitch? You can have her.
He opens up on what he believes he will be killed.
They've already given me quite a few warnings where I actually truly believe they're going to try and kill me.
So you've had messages from people trying to control you who you think would kill you.
And I'll make it very clear here, I would never kill myself under any circumstances ever. Gave me a bunch of mind-altering drugs and then sat me down to repeat all the bad shit that ever happened to me for hours and hours a day, I'd kill myself. It gets to a point where it just ain't fucking worth breathing anymore if you're gonna believe in that bollocks. If you're depressed, I don't wanna think anything like you, so take your opinion and get fucked.
So I've flown all the way from London to Dubai to challenge Andrew Tate. But before we go into this, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn the notification bell on. Andrew, who runs the world?
That's a very good question. And it's the first question. So let me answer the best I can. I believe that, of course, stating the obvious, powerful people run the world. I believe that powerful people try their very best to inflict their worldview and their goals and desires on the general populace. I think an easy way to think of it is that if you had a company, let's say you had a small company with 4 to 5 employees, you wouldn't hire any employee that didn't agree with you or didn't listen to you or didn't think like you. If you said, I want you to do this, and they said no, then you'd fire them, right? So if you could extrapolate that out and make it much larger and understand that these people have companies with millions of people or they own countries, they want people to comply. And the reason people have to comply with them is because these people own all the important resource, they own all the important land, they print the money, they own the media, they own the information, and they want to make sure that everybody agrees with them and complies with them. So they have tried very hard to damage the human psyche to the point where we are now completely empty and open for all forms of slave programming. They tried to convince us to ignore our own eyes and our own ears. They convince you to look at somebody and not be sure what gender they are, or to look around you and pretend you're in a pandemic when everything is fine. They convince you that your own brain is the enemy and that you must just only consume what you are told, because once they do that, once they can convince you to do something as crazy as ignore your own eyes, then they can simply slot in any USB stick of slave programming at random, whatever they want you to currently believe. Whether it's to believe this particular war is a good idea, or staying in your house and destroying your own business is a good idea, or gassing X amount of the population because they're a different religion is a good idea. That's how it works. So the people who are in charge of the world, whatever they want to do, they want to make sure everybody complies and listens to them, which is normal human nature. I'm not going to say that I'm any better than these people. I have 100 people who work for me and I want them all to listen. So that's what happens when you get that big. And yeah, they don't want anybody's morals or religion or point of view standing in the way. They just want you to comply.
And who is they?
Well, that's a good question. Even if I knew all their names, I wouldn't say it here. But
why wouldn't you say it here?
I wouldn't say it here because they've already given me quite a few warnings. And I'm now at the point where I actually truly believe they're going to try and kill me.
So you've had messages from people trying to control you who you think would kill you?
I understand that you get 3 strikes in this game. Strike 1 is they try and shut you up and discredit you, which I've just been through. Strike 2 is they try and put you in jail for no reason. And strike 3 is they kill you. And one of my strikes is now gone, and I now firmly believe that they're going to try and kill me because they want me to be quiet and I'm not being quiet. And I have huge amounts of influence, which is what they're scared of. Because influence is what influence is what the world is about, right? If you send soldiers to a country to die, if you have literally a pitched battle on any country on the planet with tanks and planes and people are dying, that's only to control the ground so you can influence it. Like all of that is for influence. The media is for influence. What they tell people to believe, the mindsets they want you to adopt is so they can influence you. So when somebody like me comes along who has a mass amount of influence and it's going in a direction they're contrary to, they sit and go, wow, this is a big problem from one person. And people have car accidents, people get robbed, people get shot. And that's the unfortunate reality of human nature. When you are a very large problem for very powerful people, they look for quick solutions, and the easiest solution is to kill me. And I think it's going to get there if I'm not extremely careful. So yeah, they dislike me not just because of what I say, because everybody knows what I say is true, but because of the huge amount of influence I have, and also the influence I have over the one demographic they're most fearful of, which are the young military-age males. They're the demographic that they need to keep under control the most, because those are the ones who will lead a revolution. Those are the ones who are naturally rebellious. Those are the ones you need to fight in your armies. Those are the ones you need to be the backbone of the slave force and build the roads for a shit wage. Those are the ones you need to sit in a sexless marriage and raise kids while they're depressed and turn up and pay their taxes anyway. That demographic is the backbone of the economy, of the defense of a nation. They're the number one enemy to the state if they decide to get in a big group together. Like, I don't want to be misogynistic, I've been accused of it enough, but if 100,000 women get in one place and complain, it's inconvenient. If 100,000 men get in one place and complain, it's a revolution. So they're scared of men free thinking, and they're scared of young men free thinking, and my fans are young military-age males, and I teach them to free think. So they look at me and they literally see me as a threat to the world, and that's why I think they're going to try and kill me.
So you said you now have to be careful, so what are you changing about what you're doing to not get killed?
I'm as perspicacious as I can be.
What does that mean?
Perspicacious is the ability to perceive, perceptive.
Right. Yeah.
I'm as perspicacious as I can be, but I'm also very understanding that if they want me, they're going to get me. It's an unfortunate reality. It's very easy to kill people, especially at their level, right? If they want me, they're going to get me. All I'm doing is trying to stay true to myself, stay true to God, because I truly believe this is a battle of good versus evil, and say the things I know need to be said in a way which is respectful enough and important enough so that the powers that be decide that it's okay if I stay alive. But if they decide the opposite, then there's very little I can do about it. And of course, I have a 10-man security team, everyone's armed, I carry a weapon, et cetera, et cetera. But if they want you, they're gonna get you. That's the game. So it's kind of, people often say to me, well then Andrew, why do you do this? Why do you talk? And I really believe we're living at a pivotal point in history. As AI gets better, as technology gets better, as they get more and more control over the money and the way people think and the way people move, I think that absolute slavery and tyranny is coming to the entire world. I think our children's children will live as slaves. I think the idea of social mobility will be absolutely and utterly destroyed. You're going to be born into a class, and that's where you're going to belong and stay. If you say the wrong thing or think the wrong thing, you're going to be punished for it. And I think this is one of our last chances to fight, and I think it's a battle of good versus evil. It's genuinely God against the demons, and I know that I'm on the side of God, and I'm a strictly religious person, and I couldn't live with myself if I didn't talk. And if God decides that I have to be martyred for that, then that's his decision. So it's unfortunate, but that's what happens when you have mass amounts of influence. Why, and this is a question to you, if you had control of the world and you spent huge resource and energy on media machines to make people think a certain way, and somebody like me came along and made everybody not listen, would you like that person? Would you want that person to continue to talk? What if you tried to go to him and say, listen, shut up, we've warned you now, and he wouldn't shut up? What would you do?
Well, I'm an entrepreneur, so I'd probably try and collaborate with you. But they're not entrepreneurial at that level, are they?
But even if they try and collaborate with me, and that's actually an interesting topic because I've had strange offers, let's put it that way, I won't sell my soul. A lot of people do, right?
What does sell your soul mean?
It means that you sign a piece of paper and you shut up.
Right.
For X amount of money, or X amount of influence, whatever.
Yeah, by collaborate, I don't mean pay you and shut you up. I mean, let's do some business together. Let's change the world.
Completely, but the way they want to change the world is not the way I will ever allow them to try and change the world. I don't agree with what they're doing. I think what they're doing is anti-humanist. I think what they're doing is truly evil. And I won't sell my soul. They can't convince me to sit and tell the children what they want the children to believe. And normally when you sign a contract and you become a music star or a sports star or whatever, you shut up because you have sponsors, you have money, you can get canceled, etc. You have to be quiet. And I'm not in that position. So They try and get a degree of leverage over you. I've had very strange offers.
Can you share any of them?
I had phone numbers appear from nowhere, WhatsApp conversations. I'd have no idea who this person was or how they got my number, inviting me to very private parties in very private places. I had my own phone calls played back to me. I've answered the phone before, and it's a recording of me on the phone, and that's all it is.
Wow.
And I probably shouldn't say these things on YouTube, but this is the reality of the world I'm not living in. So, yeah, there's things that have happened that have been like, Andrew, you better shut up. But I don't think I'm actually saying anything that's detrimental. And if this is watched by anybody influential, all I'm trying to do is teach men to be true to themselves and be true to the power that's inside of them, God-given. And I think that the world will always be a better place in the end that way. And I'm also very understanding that societies, to a degree, need to be controlled. Obviously, you can't have every secret out there in the open. But I think that the direction that the West is going, especially, is truly evil. And I think that somebody needs to stand up and talk about it. I think the things they're trying to convince people to believe and do are not the way that God wanted us to do. I'm a crazy misogynist. When the woman's still sucking dick, dinner's on time, there's not a girl that I look at that I want that I can't have. You want a fucking Ferrari? You can have it. You want that bitch? You can have her.
And where's this come from? This tyranny and this future slavery?
Well, I think power is always going to corrupt. No matter how good the person, I can give you a million examples, right? So I've known nice guys, and they're genuinely a nice guy. And they get a girlfriend who's completely in love with them, and the girl will do anything for them. No matter how nice that man is, they end up just being a bit of a dickhead to her, because she'll just take it. It's just what happens. Power corrupts people. Like, we're not perfect creatures. And I think when you start getting mass amounts of influence and power, it's very normal and natural to get to a point where you just want to be completely and utterly obeyed. And also there's a huge ego trip. And when I say ego, people think, oh, that's a bit of a juvenile way to boil down the world. But I don't think it is. I think that if you're born into a billionaire family, and your family's been important since the dawn of human time, that you get a massive ego trip from people complying. And people not complying is a big deal to you, right? You're king. Look at the olden days. If you looked at the king wrong, he'd chop your head off, right? So if you sit and if you come along and give some ridiculous rule, let me make up a fake scenario. Let me make up something totally ridiculous. Let's imagine that everyone was suddenly afraid of the common cold. And let's imagine we told people to wear a mask when they walk in a restaurant, sit down, take it off, eat, put it back on to stand up and go toilet, come back, take it off to eat, to save lives. Let's just do some hypothetical, right? Everybody knows there's no medical backing for that. Everybody knows that's absolutely ridiculous. So why would you do that? Well, you do that to force people to comply so you can sit around and go, that's it. What else is going to make somebody at that level happy besides an ego trip? You think money's going to make him happy? You think you can buy a Ferrari and smile? These people print money. They're above money, right? And they believe, well, I won't say quite rightly, but I understand why they believe it, that they're better than everybody else. They believe that they're literally a different species than everybody else. We're peasants, we're ants. We're nothing to these people. So if they tell you to do something, you better do it. So if you stand up and say, that's dumb, then they go, whoa, 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 who's the big mouth? Oh, this ant's smart. And they'll find a way to check you. And if you're an ant that stands up and then a whole bunch of other ants stand up with you, well, that's where the problems come, right? That's why they got Socrates. You know why Socrates died?
I'd love to hear.
He was arrested and he ended up poisoning himself and killing himself because they were going to execute him. And he was arrested for corrupting the youth because he was convincing the youth to think about not joining the military because the wars were pointless. So corrupting the youth is why Socrates died. If you make the youth think, you're an enemy to the establishment. It's always been the same.
Do you not go to bed at night sometimes and shit yourself?
Yes. Yes. But at this point, I've now made a decision to stand true to my morals and stand true to God and genuinely be a force of good for the world and genuinely try to make people do good things to other people. And if I'm not going to stop doing that. So if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. It's like being in a plane crash. What can you do? The plane's going down. What are you going to do about it? You can scream and be a girl about it, but the plane's still going to crash. So it's kind of not defeatist. It's kind of like you come to terms with the scenario. Am I going to sell my soul and live longer and have less of an impact on the world and know that I'm aiding the devil in its intentions, or am I going to live a shorter amount of time and do my absolute best to be a positive force for the world and be remembered as such? And I think that God will reward me for that. So it's just, you come to terms with the reality that there are enemies too powerful to fight, and there's nothing you can do.
So you said that a lot of influence and power can create ego.
I didn't say can create ego. I said these people are absolutely and utterly deeply egotistical to a level that an average person can't possibly understand.
Wow. Okay. So has your power created that in you?
Completely.
But when I met you, you were really nice and humble, and we were chatting.
And so would they be, right? But if I had an employee and I said, do this, and they said, I ain't doing that, I'm like, well, then you're fucking fired. Oh, but I have to pay a mortgage. Don't care. Bye. I can turn ruthless just like anybody else, right?
Well, a lot of people can't, can they?
Well, but you don't become powerful if you can't be ruthless.
Yeah.
This is the unfortunate reality, is the people who become most powerful in the world are people who have the capability to be ruthless. This is what it is. Power is only attractive to people who want to yield it. Why would you want power if you're not going to wield it? Why would you want a sword if you never take it out, right? If you give a guy a gun, he's going to, even if he doesn't want to shoot you, when you wave it around a bit, he ain't just going to put it in the drawer and close it and never touch it again, right? So the people in life who never try to become powerful, maybe they're the ones who can sit and say, I wouldn't do that, well, but you're never going to be powerful, so who cares? The people who aim for power and crave power, they crave it to use it, right? And I'm not saying that I'm any better than these people who are in charge of the world. I'm sitting saying this is human nature to a degree. I try my very best to live true to God, and I know that I try and do good things. But the people in charge of the world perhaps believe that their ideas are good. They're opposite to mine, right? So they may have the idea that we should teach children about sex at 3 years old. I believe we should leave the children alone. They believe their idea is good. I believe my idea is good. And if I was in charge of the world and somebody tried to do the opposite idea, teach children about sex at 3 years old, I'd be the one saying, absolutely no, shut them up. I'd do the same thing. Do you understand? So I'm no better than these people. We're all human. I just truly believe that my views are better than theirs. But they believe the same the opposite way around. And that's what's so difficult about it. That's what's so sad about the world. If you look at any war, it's never good guy versus bad guy. Everyone has their opinions, right? But it's always a gray mess of some guy's got a good point, the other guy's kind of got a good point, everyone's half good, half bad, and that's the unfortunate reality of Earth. So, yeah, it's a strange one, but I absolutely, completely will sit here and say, yes, if I had absolute power, then I would wield it completely, just like they are. I get it. I get it, and that's why I know they want me gone, because I know what happens when you're a powerful person, and someone keeps poking you. I know what happens. And I know that not only from this world, I know it from the underworld. I've had a very long and interesting life. In a previous incarnation, I was involved in some shady things. And
are you talking about another life before your own life?
Let's put it that way.
Okay. So not in the 35 years you've been here, another life?
For legal reasons, let's say another life.
Okay.
And I've been in rooms with people who sit around and say, this guy's a problem.
As in they're talking about you?
Or no, I've been in the room and we're talking about somebody else.
Right.
This guy's a problem.
In another life?
In another life.
Yeah.
And the problem gets fixed. This is natural.
As in the person goes away?
One way or another.
So are you talking like, is this like what might have happened to Diana, this kind of thing? Is this what you're saying?
I'm talking about, okay, let's take a hypothetical again. Let's say you have 5 drug dealers in a room and a drug dealer keeps robbing them. What are they going to do? They're going to get robbed forever? I'm going to say, no, this is a problem. How do we fix this problem? Well, we've tried to talk to him. He won't talk. He's unreasonable. Okay, then get rid of him. That's business. That's life, right?
Well, it's not business, is it?
Well, it's that business.
Yeah,
And I'm saying that even from the bottom levels of the socioeconomic scale all the way to the top levels of the socioeconomic scale, there becomes a point where the only solution to the problem is violence. Most people don't understand that the entire world we live in is absolutely and utterly violent. I see violence everywhere. If I see a big tree, I don't think, oh wow, that's a big beautiful tree. I sit and go, that tree destroyed every tree anywhere near it. Its root system is 2 miles long. It's been kicking trees' asses for 100 years. That is a badass tree, right? It's a violent tree. And every single thing about civilized society is underpinned on violence. The idea that violence will eventually appear is the only reason any of this works. If I drive through Dubai too fast, the camera will go off and I'll get a speeding ticket. If I ignore the speeding ticket, they'll add money to the speeding ticket. If I don't pay that, they'll send a bailiff. If I tell him to get fucked, they'll send the police. If I tell them to get fucked, they'll arrest me. If I refuse, violence. It doesn't matter what law, what tax code, anything you can think of. If you disobey long enough, it comes back to the bottom line. The bottom line is always violence. So if you talk to somebody and they don't listen, if you try and reason with somebody, they won't listen. You try and bribe someone, they won't take it. It gets to a point where there's one answer left. Well, then teach them a lesson. And most people don't understand this about the world. And I was having a conversation with a woman once. She said she was a pacifist. And I had to correct her. And I said, you're absolutely not a pacifist. You may be incapable of violence because you're a female, but you believe in violence, because if I were to attack you, you'd call the police. And you want violence by proxy to protect you. You believe in violence because you believe in law and order. You can't be a pacifist amongst savagery, right? You like the idea of living in society. You like the idea of your house being yours. Well, why is it yours? It's yours because it's enforced by a legal contract that the government will enforce with a police force, with violence. The whole world's violent. Everything's violent. So I don't think most people understand and realize that you're saying it's not business when I say that drug dealers are violent. I completely and utterly disagree. It is business. If a company sues another company and they owe a bunch of money and they don't pay it, we can go down the same route. Guess what happens in the end? They end up taking the CEO's house. He doesn't want to give it up. They send a police officers around and said, you were due to get evicted today. I ain't leaving. Guess what? Violence. Business is violence. Life is violence. It's all violence. We put a nice little happy sugar coat on top of it. But that's the truth of the world. And I'll make it very clear here. I would never kill myself under any circumstances ever. Gave me a bunch of mind-altering drugs and then sat me down to repeat all the bad shit that ever happened to me for hours and hours a day. I'd kill myself. It gets to a point where it just ain't fucking worth breathing anymore if you're gonna believe in that bollocks. If you're depressed, I don't wanna think anything like you, so take your opinion and get fucked.
We've launched some new YouTube channels that I believe you will love. We also have a brand new launched More Money Secrets channel where you can learn, earn and invest and make, manage and master money. And we have a shorts version of that channel. 3 new channels. You can find the links in the description. And remember, if you don't risk anything, you risk everything.
How did you learn all this?
That's a good question. I've had a interesting life. And yeah,
well, we flew out here for you, so we've got all day to listen to it.
Yeah, I've had an interesting life, and I think the only way you learn lessons in life are the hard way or the harder way. I think that humans are terrible at learning lessons easily. You will see somebody make the same mistake 100 times until that one time it really hurts. That's just how we are. And God's been quite nice to me by teaching me the hard lessons quickly. He didn't give me any chances to learn slowly. He came at me hard and fast and instantly. So I learned things very quick. So I learned the reality of a lot of scenarios and how the world works very, very quickly because I never had any of those in-betweens, you know?
Have you got a specific hard lesson? Quick, hard, brutal?
I have a few, yeah. But I think everything I say, all of my answers are based on my life. I don't want to, there's some things I don't want to say on camera, but anything I'm saying is based on a scenario that I've lived through. I don't read books. I'm not a book reader. I don't consume content. I don't watch videos. I don't watch anybody else's things. Every single word out of my mouth is just a reality I've lived, walking around day to day. And I philosophize it in my own mind, I absorb it, and I come to my conclusions. And my conclusions seem to be pretty accurate for 2 reasons. One, it's maybe the most Googled man on the planet. And 2...
How many searches? I was trying to find out. I was trying to Google how many Google searches are on Andrew Tate.
At the height of the media attack, I was the most Googled man on the planet. I don't know how many.
More than Alec Baldwin, more than Will Smith.
More than Donald Trump, more than Putin in the middle of this war, more than Joe Biden, more than the Kardashians, more than everyone else, the most Googled man on the planet. So that's one reason I know that my conclusions are accurate. But the other reason I know my conclusions are accurate is because when you make a conclusion or you come to build a mental model in your mind, the idea of having it is to be able to predict the future. There's no point in constructing a mental model that doesn't allow you to predict the future. If I pick this bottle up, I know if I drop it, if I let go, it's gonna fall. Because every other time I did that, it fell, right? My mind has told me if you drop things, if you let go of them, they're gonna fall to the ground. It allows me to predict the future. If I couldn't predict the future with my mental model, if my mental model believes something else, then I'd make a bunch of mistakes. I've predicted the future completely and utterly accurately my entire life. I know that I'm right because the way I think allows me to be correct in every scenario I've ever been in. I know when someone's going to hurt me. I know when my time's almost up. I know how to make a bunch of money. I know all of it. I've never been wrong about anything. So for someone to come along and try and convince me that my mental model and my way of viewing the world is inaccurate, it's going to be extremely difficult, because I'm going to sit and say, well, my mental model produces X to this accuracy, and you're a dumbass. So what can you predict, my friend? And that's the reality of the world. So my stories are being told, the lessons of them at least, when I'm speaking.
What are the lessons of the Middle East?
No, the lessons of the stories. You asked me a story, and I'm saying
Right.
I won't tell the story, but the lessons are being told.
Okay. Andrew, are you misunderstood?
That's a good question. I'm going to answer.
That was my original question 1, by the way.
I want to answer as a professional. Yes, I am misunderstood. I'm misunderstood because the things I say are a large web of nuanced, and they're interlinked. And if you take one individual part from the web, then completely I understand how some things can be massively misunderstood. I also understand that most people have no interest in the truth and no interest in digging deeper and finding out the truth about a person or a scenario. I think that, let's tie this back to the conversation we just had. If you take a small subsect of society, let's say mass murderers, you'd assume all of society is bad. But when you interlink it and understand it, societal as a whole, the world's not such a bad place. I think that's the same for all people. I'm certainly one of those people. And I think that my ideas, when they're properly explained and completely digested, head to toe, very rarely, if at all, ever get a negative reaction. The people who misunderstand me so feverishly are people who have never even bothered to genuinely understand me at all. I know this because there's actually a very famous TikTok account. Some guy, he walks around college campuses in America and he says, "Have you heard of Andrew Tate?" The girl goes, "Yeah." "Do you like him?" "No, I hate him." "Why?" "He's a misogynist." "What does misogynist mean?" "Whatever." And they just walk off.
Whatever.
So and it's different versions of that same conversation. What has he said that's misogynistic? Well, he hates women. No. What did he say? And this is what it's amazing how the conversation interlaces, right? What did I say at the beginning? The slave programming, the empty mind. Andrew is misogynistic. People who are going to walk through earth and repeat that, they have no evidence, they have no proof, they can't tell you why. When you challenge them on it, they get angry because it's been installed in their brain because they're dummies. And when a dummy, you remove and you empty their brain, you install the new programming, they instantly get enraged when they realize their brain short circuits. Explain why you feel how you feel. They can't. And then they have a breakdown. And this is the true height of the slave mind. If you can convince somebody to have a strong emotional reaction about a subject they don't even understand, imagine the level of slave these people are. Imagine if every time you saw the color red, you just lost your mind. You're a slave. You're controlled. And all the people who dislike me, because none of them can even tell you why, are slaves to the matrix. They belong to the machines. They've had all of their morality and all of their own thoughts completely and utterly erased. They've installed the new program. First it was or whatever it was. Now it's Andrew, Slava Ukraine, goes on and on, whatever the new fucking story is. Andrew's the enemy right now. And they don't even know why they feel how they feel. And there's a large percentage of the population walking through Earth now with opinions that they will fight to the death for, and they don't even know where it came from. And they don't even know why they believe it. And it doesn't even benefit them. This is the miracle of it. If you have one of these opinions that you really defend, but it benefits your life, I get it. Like, let's take an extreme opinion. Let's say you're the Taliban, right? You have extreme opinions. But those opinions allow you to live life in a particular way. You'll fight to defend those opinions. But if your opinion is, "I hate Andrew Tate," your life is no better. You don't gain anything. Your reality doesn't change. But you're still prepared to fight for that opinion. You're a slave. And most of the people who dislike me, in fact, let me correct myself, everybody who dislikes me is slave-minded. And it is still a minority. 90% of comments on my videos are positive. But there's 10% slave minds who, no matter what evidence you show them of me talking good about women, or my charitable donations, which rack up to the tens of millions of dollars, or the foundations I run, or the orphanage I built, or all the people's lives I've saved when I reply to men who are suicidal and men's mental health, which I'm working with closely. No matter what you show them, their only reply is, but he's bad. And they won't tell you why. And this is just the slave mind. You can't reason with the slaves because they've been programmed.
So you mentioned the underworld and the Matrix. What is that?
Have you seen the movie?
Yeah, damn straight.
Yeah, good movie. So in the movie The Matrix, your body heat is being salvaged, and to keep your mind occupied, you're living inside of a false reality, computer generated. The reason I think we live in a matrix now is because I think the same thing is happening. Perhaps it's not our body heat, perhaps it's our work, our ideas, but they're being salvaged, and the reality they've given us to occupy our brains is false. We don't live in the real world. We are living in a reality where we're told stories and narratives that aren't true, where they try very hard to distract us with garbage. Rihanna. I have nothing against Rihanna. Like, I don't know her. But when I see a concert and I see hundreds of thousands of peons standing amongst
Peons?
peons.
What are they?
Peons is the people who go to these concerts.
Right.
Peon means peasant. Standing,
This is an education in language.
no, but they are peasants because they're acting in a peasant way. They're acting like peasants. Hundreds of thousands of people in a crowd looking up at somebody like they're God, jumping up and down for hours on end. You're a peasant. You're a peasant. And your life's shit, and you have no achievements, no money, you're depressed, but you're distracted. They've distracted you with this idol, whoever it happens to be. Put them there. And the peasant's like, yeah. And then they go home, and they're told something by the news. Let's make up a completely false scenario. Be afraid of the common cold. Okay, and then anyone who comes back and says, why are we afraid of the common cold? They delete their point of view. They shut them up to create a false reality. So people are living a life where they're working a job, they're being enslaved by the machines for their tasks, but their mind is distracted by garbage and only fed a fake story, and they're living inside of a computer-generated simulation. They're living inside of a world that is not real. They don't live in a real world. A lot of people live inside of the matrix completely, especially the people who dislike me.
And how do you get out of this simulation and into whatever the real world is, and what is the real world?
They should do a public post on all their social media. I am sorry I believed the lies. I am sorry I helped purport the enslavement of mankind. I am sorry I was a tool of the matrix in its enslavement of man. I am sorry.
Hey, on the subject of money, and right now with all the craziness in the world, you need to be armed. So if you'd like to start and scale a business, make, manage, and multiply money, build multiple streams of digital income, my digital financial toolkit will be just for you. It's free, and the link is in the description.
And money is the key to beginning to escape. So we had Hustlers University. They attacked it when they attacked the matrix. So now we've started our own banks. We have our own banking license. We have our own payment processing. We have our own data center deep in a mountain.
Was that because it all got taken off you when you were cancelled?
It's because they were attacking it.
Right.
So we built all the infrastructure ourselves.
So you're decentralized?
Completely. So it can't be attacked anymore. And that's the real world, and we can teach people how to make money. And the reason I teach people how to make money is because money is stage one to escaping the matrix. You can't think for yourself and talk the things you believe if you need that wage and that person tells you to shut up. You can't. The reason everyone wore the mask is because they had to pay their mortgage.
Or their wife told them to.
Yeah, or their wife told them to. That's right, yeah. So if you need breadcrumbs and you're a starving man, you can't really talk to the guy who has all the bread and tell him to get fucked, right? So the first thing you do when someone says to me, I want to escape the matrix, I think for myself is, okay, then you need to be prepared financially. You need money to go to war. So the first thing I do is I teach anybody who's a fan of mine to make as much money as possible. And I don't do that to make money. In fact, the school is ridiculously cheap. It's so cheap, it's less than a lunch. And you can find out more on cobratate.com. But the reason I do
What was the link again?
cobratate.com.
Right.
But anybody who is a fan of mine, I want those people to be as wealthy as possible because they agree with my mindset. And I want to equip my soldiers. I don't want everyone who agrees with me to be an unimportant brokey. I want the people who agree with me to be influential and rich. And I want them to be able to stand up and talk and fight for themselves. So this is the reason I teach people how to make money, because I know anybody who resonates with my message, the wealthier they get, the better the war is going to be for me. So I wouldn't consider it philanthropic. I have an agenda, but my agenda is to find anybody who agrees with me and give them as much money as possible. So that's the real world, which is launching on corporatetape.com, because that's stage one. You're asking how to escape. Stage one is you must make money. I've tried very hard to help people with no money, but there's just too many blocks in the way. You can't put that on social media. You can't afford a day off work. You can't afford your boss to get mad. You can't afford to get arrested. You can't get a lawyer. You can't fight. You can't fight. You need bullets in your gun. So stage one is to get rich. Then you have to get rich while preserving your soul. And that's a harder part, right? Because as you get rich, as you climb, there are many different hands trying to drag you in different directions.
He says, looking at me over his glasses.
You have women, gambling, drugs, degeneracy, hedonism.
Isn't that why you have money?
Well, this is it. And you can dabble, but you certainly don't want to lose your soul completely.
Yeah.
You have large business interests offering more money, more power to believe X, to say X. I can sit here and say now, I have never sold a scam to anybody. I don't sell crypto pump and dumps to anybody. I don't sell soft drinks full of sugar to anybody. I've been offered money by gambling companies. I said no. Only thing I teach is teach people how to make money, and I know it works because I do it all myself. Me and my professors teach what we already do to all become multimillionaires to people, and I've told the reason why. They've tried to get me to sell my soul to sell crap to the world endless times, and I've never done it. So you have these offers, right? When you're the most Googled man on the planet, do you have any idea how much they'll pay you to sell bollocks to people? Andrew, hey, here, this energy drink, say it's what you take to have high energy, and sell this shit full of sugar to children, and here's $100 million. No, I won't do it. I don't believe in it. I won't do it. So then you have to keep your moral fiber and stay principled, which is another battle. But if you manage to make money and stay true to your own moral fibers and principles and stay perspicacious, word of the day, keep paying attention to the world and actually keep your eyes open and look around, then you'll naturally escape the matrix. It's natural for the human mind, it's natural human evolution for us to spiritually escape the enslavement. Because the enslavement is from man, but our enlightenment is from God. It is natural for us, if you get rich enough to say no to ideas that you understand are innately wrong, if you get rich enough to have a different opinion, if you pay a lot of attention and you resist all of the temptations of the devil, the only possible end state is to escape the matrix. It's an easy trajectory. Most people fall off because they're too broke to think. You're too poor to have an opinion, so you're too poor to think. The rest fall off because they get a little bit rich and they get snapped up. But anybody who doesn't fall for those two traps ends up where I am. And there are a lot of us.
And where are you?
I am in a stage of enlightenment outside of the matrix. I'm like Morpheus. I come in and out. I come back into the matrix. I come to YouTube. I talk to people whose minds are ready to be freed. I convince them to join the real world at corporatetape.com and begin their journey. And I take the free minds and we escape the matrix together. This is why for a long time on Twitter, I had an account called Morpheus. I was Morpheus because that's what I kept getting compared to. I come in and out trying to free the minds. And I hope I find Neo. I hope I find somebody who's even better at attacking the matrix than I am. All I'm trying to do is talk to the people who understand what I'm saying is right. When I say these things, there are going to be certain amounts of people who listen to this and think I'm crazy. He's crazy. And there's going to be people who listen to it and go, yes, finally. Finally I understand. Finally I know what to do. I've felt this for so long. I've looked around me and knew that this shouldn't be my life. I knew that they're lying to me. I didn't know what to do. Now he's told me what to do. Those are the ones I'm interested in. And they can join the real world. Inside of corporatetape.com, I'll see them there. Anybody who thinks I'm crazy, that's fine. I'm crazy. Don't worry about me. I'm a crazy misogynist. The news has never lied to anybody. Every war ever started, the reason the news told you, that's why it started. It's not like every single one's been a false flag since the beginning. Every single narrative that they've tried to purport upon you is not to control you. It's because they want you to know the truth because you're so important. Don't worry. So if the media is lying about me, they must be right. Why would they lie? Why would they try and convince people that the world's most influential man is somehow bad? It's not because, they're worried he has influence and might push the world in a good direction. Of course not. No, it's because he's such a bad guy. That's why he has no criminal record. No girls come forward saying I've done anything to anybody. No victims of any kind. And somehow I'm evil. And the people who believe this garbage are slave-minded. They're slave-minded. It's the most common tactic in the world. First, they insult your character and attack you. It's stage one of the three stages. They attack you, your character, and cancel you. They put you in jail for something you did not do. And the last is they kill you. And I'll make it very clear here. I would never kill myself under any circumstances, ever. Ever. And I like to think that if anybody sees a media article where I've been locked up for whatever it is, they're going to look at it and go, this is bullshit. Tate didn't do that. With the scrutiny I'm under, does anyone think I'm breaking the law? I'm the most scrutinized man on the planet. Like, if I was breaking laws, I'd be in jail. Trust me. I drive at the speed limit, my friend. That's the level it's got to. Like, they think I'm out here doing bad things. So when an article comes out saying Tate did this, I just pray there's enough people who are outside of the matrix to sit and go, this is some bullshit. And he doesn't deserve this, because I don't deserve it, because I will be innocent.
What is enlightenment?
I think that enlightenment is always being able to use your own emotions to your advantage. Every single time I've been furiously angry, or even in a murderous rage, it's been a very appropriate time to be so. And I don't mean appropriate because of the reasoning. I'm not saying I had a good reason to be angry. I'm saying that it was the best decision at the time. Every time I've ever been truly sad, again, it was beneficial for me to feel that way. There are times in life when murderous rage is the best possible option on the table.
There
are times in life where if you're genuinely threatened, the best possible emotion you could feel is murderous rage, right? There's times when it's appropriate. And there's times when it's good to be sad, and there's times when it's good to be empathetic, and there's times when it's good to be ruthlessly psychopathically cold. So I think enlightenment is making sure that your brain and soul and spirit are trained in a way that the emotions you feel at any given time are the best possible card in the deck. Of all the options you have in the playbook, depending on the scenario, your own spirit gives you the exact perfect way to feel to handle that scenario in the most effective and compendious way possible.
Is that like almost taking a step above those emotions and observing those emotions and using them in a second stage awareness?
That's a good question. And I would say that's semi-enlightenment.
Right.
There was a point where, yes, I'd get furiously angry and I could see myself from the outside and it was conscious. But when you actually reach true enlightenment, you don't have to be conscious of it and you don't have to observe yourself from the outside. You just feel what you're supposed to feel at the exact right time all of the time. And you're absolutely engrossed by it and completely. I've never been murderously angry where that was not the best chance of me handling that scenario to my advantage. And I've never been in any other emotional state where it wasn't the best possible move. When I think back outside of the emotional experience itself and think, could I have felt a different way and would that have allowed me to act in a different way that would have helped me more? The answer is always no. The way I felt allowed me to do exactly what I had to do. And yes, there was a point when that was semi-conscious and now it's not conscious at all. If I start to feel angry, it's not conscious. I am angry completely and utterly and I trust my body and my spirit that I'm supposed to be angry and I'm supposed to act within that frame. And that's what true enlightenment is, because thinking outside of it and being conscious of it is good, but it takes time. And often in the most extreme scenarios of life, the one thing you will not have is very much time. There has to be instant and complete decisions, and there has to be final scenarios, what's the word I'm looking for? Consequences.
Is that something you trained yourself to do?
I think that life's trained me to be that way. This is what happens when you've had a varied enough life. I talk often about the importance of trauma as a man. I think that if you were to find the most interesting or most capable men on the planet, they've had the most trauma-filled lives. I just think that trauma is what teaches you. We talked earlier about how you have to have lessons taught to you the hardest way. if you were to call a Navy SEAL and ask him to protect you going into a building full of assailants, you'd like to think that guy's been through some stuff. You'd like to see some scars, right? You wouldn't want Mr. Freshface to turn up. This is the reason why we instinctively don't trust youth. Because you look at a kid, if a wealth manager walks in and he's 18, you're like, oh, you don't know about life. Nothing's hurt you yet. That's why we trust age. That's why they say that wisdom you must grow into wisdom. You can't just pick it up, right? Trust your elders, listen to your elders, etc. These are age-old ways of thinking. So lessons and trauma, and the more you go through, the better of a man you are. And if you were to find the best men on the planet, I guarantee they've been through a bunch of terrible things. And if you listen to podcasts from any of the most interesting people on the planet, usually they've had hard, terrible lives. And you can use that trauma to become a better person, or you can let that trauma consume you and destroy you. But I thank God for all of it, because it gave me endless power to become the person I am. If you're truly angry or truly unhappy, then you can't sleep. And if you can't sleep, then you get twice as many hours as everybody else to become monumentally successful. So there's advantages. There's advantages to difficult things.
And what is the biggest trauma that's taught you the most?
I've thought long and hard about which stories I'm prepared to share on social media, which ones I'm not, and that line's getting more and more blurred. I'm starting to give more and more away. And there's certain things I don't want to say. And I'm certainly not looking for any degree of sympathy, because like I said, I am glad for everything that happened to me. I wouldn't change a thing. I thank God for all of it. So truthfully, I think I'm lucky, I've been blessed. The reason I talk about these things is not to tell people I've had a hard life. It's to make it clear to people who are complaining about their own lives that the bad things that are happening to you are what you need to become the man that you want to be. I can't talk about women because I'm not one. I actually think trauma is terrible for women because it masculinizes them. They become cold. And that's not attractive, right? We want feminine, pure, protected women. I don't want a woman to ever go through anything bad in her life. I think a man should go through it for her and protect her, because I think that's how she's her best self as a woman. But I think to be your best self as a man is the absolute opposite. And when someone emails me and says, "This has happened to me," I'm like, good. No, what do you mean good? It's terrible. How else are you going to become important? How else are you going to find endless fire to get up and struggle in the face of the competition that's out here in the world? How else are you're going to do all that with a nice, cushy life? If any man's honest with himself, think about the biggest transformative stages in your life. Think about the times you got the most work done. It was a bad part of your life. You were heartbroken, or you lost a house, or broke, or whatever. That's when you did shit. When everything was fine, when the woman's still sucking dick, the mortgage is paid, dinner's on time, it's kind of doop-de-doop-de-doo, little by little, do a little bit of work, do a little bit of relax. But the big events come from trauma. This is it. So it's a cheat code. It's a cheat code to climb the mountain. So when I get a message from whoever and he goes, "My wife left me, I'm devastated," I say, I understand. I completely understand how hard it can be to lose a woman that you've given your entire life to. And you've done so many nice things. And then because of one thing you did, her innate and absolutely insane level of ungratefulness has turned her bitter, and she now talks to you like she hates you over one thing you've done after thousands of efforts showing how dedicated you are to her. And even now that you're prepared to die for her, she doesn't give a shit about you. I understand that pain. But my answer is, good, it's still good. Now take all of that pain, and instead of emailing me, do this. And then you're going to become the kind of person that women don't leave. Then you win.
Andrew, I've got to do my job here.
Sure.
I don't want to do this because I'm really enjoying this, so I've got to do my job. I want to push you for one specific example of something that was traumatic to you, maybe something in your childhood or something, because there's still a wall there where you haven't given us anything that's really hurt you.
Oh, completely, yeah, I haven't answered. So, I mean, I have a whole bunch of things, but I can give you a simple one that I've talked about already before. And this is one that everyone can relate to. Losing my father was bad. Me and my father were exceptionally close. But it's a natural part of human evolution. As you grow, you're going to lose your parents. This is what happens, right? It's going to suck, but the only alternative is that you die before them, and I think that's worse because it's unnatural, right? And there's an African proverb that says you don't become a man until your father dies. And I can confirm that to be true.
That is my biggest fear in life. What I know is coming, not, you know.
It's coming.
Yeah.
And it's sudden and it's instant and it's brutal.
Yeah.
And, but all the trauma, like all of the pain associated with that experience, it teaches you, it taught me at least, I all of a sudden almost remembered every conversation I ever had with him. Like I was talking to the guy every day, right?
How old were you when that happened?
27.
Yeah.
I was talking to the guy all the time. But once he's gone, you remember all the times he was right and you didn't quite understand. All the times he was saying things you didn't quite get. All the times you talked back and you were absolutely and utterly incorrect. You're like, oh shit, I've been wrong this whole time, right? So it teaches you a whole bunch about yourself. And it also, for me, what it did was make it clear to me that I'm no longer a student and it's time to become a teacher.
Yeah.
And also, my scenario with my father was very unique because he was the only person on the planet I allowed to check my thinking. Even at the age of 25, 26, I had asked my dad if I was right. I didn't give a shit what anybody else said. You could get 20,000 people in a room saying, Andrew, you're wrong. Didn't care. But if my dad said I was wrong, shit, I was wrong. So once he wasn't around to check my thinking, I had to check my own thinking a lot harder, a lot more carefully. So yeah, I mean, that was a terrible experience. I miss him like the deserts miss the rain, but that's his life, right? The only alternative is worse. I don't think he would have been able to actually function if he lost me. So this is how it goes, and it's coming for all of us. What's actually kind of amazing is he is mentioned and talked about now so often on the internet because of my massive fame. So I've kept him alive. By becoming so successful, people are interested in my origin, which makes people talk about him. So it's kind of like, if you have a duty to your bloodline and a duty to your ancestors and you truly love your parents, how can you still be sitting at home playing video games being a lazy piece of shit? Don't you want people to remember them? Don't you want people to think, wow, who's this person who raised this amazing person? So that in and of itself, it should be endless motivation. If anyone's watching this, if you love your parents, you can't be a loser anymore. Like, otherwise they're going to be forgotten along with you, you know? So, but yeah, it's coming.
But we're all going to be forgotten in the end.
Perhaps, but there can be different, perhaps this is true, but there will be different evolutions of fables. There are still stories we tell from 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. And I tell the story of my father, and my son will tell the story of me, and his son will tell the story of him. And we will all be so influential that the name Tate will live forever. And this is what gave me solace. But this solace that you find after your father's passing, that solace for me also gave me a massive sense of responsibility and duty. I can't now not be who I am, which goes back to earlier when you were saying, well, they're going to get you. How do you sleep at night? Because I can't not do this, because by doing this, my father is remembered, and I will be remembered, and my son will be born and instilled with a sense of duty, which will make him impossible to program by the Matrix, so I know my son will be a good person. He won't be a piece of shit like all these other children. He will be born with morality, and he will understand that his father sacrificed himself for the good of the world. So yes, I don't like being alone in a dark car park, of course. But also, what's the alternative? To say, Dad, sorry, they offered me some money. Is that the alternative? I don't know. But maybe some people can sign up to that, but I certainly can't.
Mm-hmm. Do you have something to prove?
I think everybody on the planet has something to prove. If you walk through life and feel like you have nothing to prove, then you're a fucking loser. If you wake up each day and go, I don't owe anybody anything, I don't have to prove anything to anybody, then you are a loser, because you are absolutely not incorrect. You must prove yourself to other people. You must prove yourself to your bloodline, as we just discussed. You must prove yourself to God. God hates the lazy. He can't stand them. If he gives you all these genetic dispositions and these natural God-given gifts, if you have 2 arms and 2 legs and you can think, and you're not trying your absolute best, that's the reason you're not lucky. He doesn't like you. He likes the people which show him the beauty of his own creation. He likes to give somebody building blocks and them to build something amazing. It's the best thing about being a man. You get to build who you are, right? You can decide if you want to be a funny comedian or a musician or a kickboxing world champion or fight the Matrix. You can decide whatever you want to be. God loves to see that. Those people, for some reason, seem to be enormously lucky, right? The person who goes, I don't have to prove anything to God. I don't owe all of my ancestors any effort. You know, for 5,000 years, people were dodging saber-toothed tigers and catching the plague and running from Genghis Khan just for my stupid ass to be born. I don't owe them anything. I don't owe them a thing. because I want to play video games. These people are fucking losers. You should walk through earth with force inside of you. As I walked into this hotel reception, everybody looked. Not because they know who I am, but because as I move, even if it's behind their head, people feel something and they go, it's an energy that comes from brutal competence. It's almost like an evolutionary thing where a rabbit can just smell a fox. It just knows. That's what happens when a predator walks in a room, even amongst humans. You pay attention next time you're in a restaurant. If a man who's truly dangerous walks in, nearly every other man kind of looks up at the same time. You feel it. You need to or you don't survive. We've evolved with that to live. That's who I am. I couldn't imagine not being that man. I've done that because I've been trying to prove myself to my lineage my entire life. I wake up every day with something to prove. I have hundreds of millions of dollars. I wake up and think, fuck, more. I'm in fantastic shape, 4 times world champion. Fighting the Matrix out here by myself, more. I will have to be braver. I must try harder. All I do is prove myself. So when I hear people go, I don't have nothing to prove, then you're a fucking loser. Peasants have never felt like they needed to prove anything. But kings felt like they needed to go and conquer land. Isn't that it's coincidental that the king, who already had it all, felt like he needed to go to some far-flung land and conquer it and take it and prove he's the king. But the peasants, oh, I don't have to prove nothing to nobody. You're a fucking loser then. You're a dummy. I absolutely and utterly, completely have everything to prove to everybody all of the time. That's who I am. I will prove anything to anybody. If I sit and say X, I will prove it to anyone. I can be checked at any time. If someone were to come up to me in that lobby and argue with my ideas, I would have proved that my ideas are sound. If they would have attacked me, I would have destroyed them completely and absolutely. That's who I am. So yes, I have a lot to prove, my friend. And until the day I die, it will remain that.
I feel like that's the last thing they'll take before a full-on fucking war.
If you don't pay your taxes, so you own your house. If you don't wear a mask when they tell you to and you get a fine for not wearing a mask and you think that's injustice and you don't pay the fine and they add money to the fine, then it goes to court, you're supposed to turn up, you don't, they send a bailiff, you tell the bailiff to get fucked, they will take your house. So if you don't wear a mask, they take your house. So do you own it?
If you want to ensure your decentralized freedom, money is the tool you need. So if you'd like to start and scale an independent business, make, manage, and multiply money. Build assets that produce recurring income, both physical and digital, decentralized from the system. Join Rob.team. There's no ongoing contract and there's content going back years, and the link is in the description.
You've said a few times, a loser. What's the definition of a loser?
I think the universe is absolutely and utterly giving. I've never seen anybody dedicate themselves to something completely and fail. I've never seen somebody eat right, go to the gym every day, train really hard, and not be in good shape. I've literally never seen it. The universe is extremely giving. If you actually try, and you actually want it, and you're actually not making excuses, lying, talking shit, you're gonna get what you want. So when I see people who don't have what they want, I consider them losers. And this may be elitist, I understand that. But if I put myself through endless pain to end up where I am, it's very hard for me to have sympathy on the man who's afraid of pain. You're avoiding pain. I've been through endless. I now have everything I've ever desired. You have none of the things you desire. Am I supposed to feel sorry for you because you took the easy way out? Am I supposed to look at you and go, oh, poor dude? No, you were a fucking coward. You didn't go through the shit I went through. You didn't put it on the line. So you deserve your substandard reality. That's what you deserve. You're a fucking loser. Because if you actually wanted it, and you actually tried, you'd have it. You could have anything you want. Universe is super giving. You want a fucking Ferrari, you can have it. You want that bitch, you can have her. You can have anything you want on the planet. There's not a girl I look at that I want that I can't have. Not one. That's my reality. There's not a car I can't have. There's not a house I can't buy. If I want to go to a yacht, if I want to go to Antarctica, there's nothing I can't have. Bam. Because I've decided to become this man. It's the same for absolutely every single one of you at home. If you want it, you can have it. If you're sitting there saying, oh, but I tried my best and I still didn't get it, you're lying. You didn't try your best. That is a fucking lie. The universe gives it to everybody who genuinely tries. And I know that to be a fact because this world's competitive. We're all competing against each other. And the majority of people don't try. Like I've achieved this amazing life and I've tried very, very hard. But it could have been harder. I mean, Was it that hard? About 86% hard. It wasn't 100% hard. Why? Because the competition's zero. Everyone is a fucking loser. It's amazing to me. Everyone's a loser. I can say to somebody, listen, I'll make you a millionaire. Do this. Oh yeah, but the kids are home from school now. That's it. They're done. And then they'll sit and go, oh, I really wish I had some money. You are a loser. I will sit here on this podcast. People will listen to me for hours. And I will say, listen, I have hundreds of millions of dollars and I will teach you how to make money. CobraTate.com, I have a school, university designed specifically to teach you how to make money. I clearly know how to make money. You clearly like what I say. You obviously believe I'm intelligent and integral and I won't lie to you. And still, a whole bunch of people will sit there and go, yeah, anyway, next video. And then they'll say, can't afford a Ferrari, and wonder why. Like they'll be confused in their minds how they didn't end up getting what they want. Because you're a fucking loser. That's why. And the majority of people are losers. And this goes back to why, when we were saying earlier, how I know the elites view us. Because I'm from a council estate in Luton, a single parent household. And I've only been rich 10 years or so. And I despise losers. So imagine you're a billionaire born into a family, a lineage which has controlled Earth for hundreds of years. Imagine how much they despise us. You think they give a fuck about putting a bullet in me? You think they're gonna have any sleep at night missed? You think they give a solitary fuck about you missing your fucking parents' funeral because of the common cold? They don't give a solitary shit. Why would they? Because I already know how I feel when I listen to losers complain. Because this is what happens at a certain level of competence and power. You just get to a point where you're like, I'm tired of hearing your fucking excuses. That's bullshit. And you become, to a degree, cold and psychopathic. It's true. That's what happens. And I get it all the time. I get thousands of emails a day. Everyone I grew up with, people I know, I get it all the time. They'll message me, hey man, just unlucky. You are not unlucky. You are a lazy fucking loser. You are not unlucky. You are breathing. You're lucky. The unlucky ones are gone. You're alive and you are a lazy loser. So a loser is anybody who does not have everything they want at the drop of a hat. That's who I call a loser. Because I have absolutely everything I could ever possibly desire. And if I wanted something that I couldn't have, I guarantee you we could speak again in a few months and I fucking have it. I guarantee you. Because if I want something and I can't have it, I can't sleep. When I was broke, I couldn't sleep. I don't know how there's broke people out here sleeping just fine at night. Going, inflation's 20%, gas prices are 6 times, everything on the news is a lie, I never stand a chance of ever getting rich, where's my pillow? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? I go to bed at night as a teenager and think, I looked it up on the internet. It was a Honda Civic Type R. I wanted one. It was like 38,000 pounds. I had no money. I had less than 50 pounds in my bank account. Couldn't afford it. Then I looked up how much a Ferrari cost, 210,000 pounds. And I said to Tristan, my brother, I was like, there are people with 210,000 pounds for a car. And he's like, yes, so? I'm like, no, not so. How? If I worked my job for 6 years and saved every penny, if I walked to work and didn't eat, I couldn't buy this car. How are people doing this? I couldn't sleep at night when I was broke. I knew that everything was a lie. I knew the Matrix was lying to me. I knew I had to find a way out. I was sitting there going, I refuse to live my human years and be some second-class citizen peasant when there's people out here who get to do whatever the fuck they want. I couldn't tolerate it, and I was so uncomfortable that it gave me the motivation I needed to escape. But the people who go, oh yeah, nice Ferrari, yeah. Back to the TV. Dummies, losers. And the thing about the world is, we need losers. I'm not mad at losers. If that's the reality you've chosen to live, you get one spin in this version of life, and you decide you want to be a loser, that's fantastic, because my cars need cleaning, my hotel room needs cleaning, I have a party with all these beautiful women that's a bit of a mess. Please, go pick it up. Somebody needs to do that shit. I ain't gonna fucking do it. If I had to walk into a hotel room and clean up after some other man's party, I guarantee you I'd do whatever it fucking took to become rich so I didn't have to do that shit anymore. But you want to do that for 20 years? Thanks, friend. Someone's got to flip the fucking burgers. Someone has to make the fries. I want a Happy Meal now and again. But I don't feel sorry for you people because you fucking deserve it because it's a decision you made. You made that decision. If you're sitting at home and you say, I don't want to be a loser, you know what to do. I told you how to escape the matrix. CobraTate.com. You can join. I'll teach you. But if you're going to sit there and go, nah, maybe this guy with hundreds of millions of dollars is trying to scam me out of 25 pounds. All right, smart ass. Have fun at McDonald's. Get fucked. I have no sympathy for these people. Zero.
Do you have a little bit of a system you can share on how to make money? I know we've got CobraTate.com. We'll keep shouting it out. But any tips for someone who's ready, but they don't yet know the how?
Completely. So we teach it inside of the real world, of course. I keep mentioning it because it's so important. But there are 3 keys, I believe, to making money. The word of the day. First one's perspicacity. Most people go through life and they do not pay attention. I've said this before and I want to stick by it because it's so important. You need to pay attention to every single time you spend money because you cannot make money. You're not the Federal Reserve, you're not a government. Governments make money. All of us take money from somebody else or a business or a government. We take money from other things. So the easiest way to learn how to get good at taking money is to pay attention to every time someone takes money from you. So next time you buy a coffee, don't just buy the coffee and drink it and think nothing of it like every brokey. Don't do that. Say, okay, why am I buying this coffee? Okay, I want a coffee. All right. Why am I buying here? Well, this is on my way to work. Is there any competition around? Do I also want breakfast? Do they sell breakfast? No, they don't sell breakfast. They could probably make some more money if they're selling breakfast. Anyway, I walk in, there's a long line. Why is there one member of staff? I'm low on time. I'm about to leave and not buy the coffee. They're about to lose money because it's taking too long. Most of the people in this line are businessmen. Why is there not a cute girl behind the counter? I bet if they paid a cute girl a little bit more, they'd still make a bunch more money because people would come in here to talk to her. Think. And then what you'll do is, as you go through life, every time you spend money, is you'll realize the problem is not how to make money. The problem is how much time you have because there's endless business ideas. There's endless ideas. I walk into a coffee shop and by the time I've walked out, I already know exactly how to open up next door and outcompete them head to toe. I already have worked out how much is the rent, where are they fucking up, what are they not selling that they should be selling, what are they doing good, what are they doing bad, this chair's too hard, I'll wreck them. And I'll send it, and now my network is so powerful, which is the second point, network, I can send a few messages on WhatsApp and make a bank transfer. And 2 months later, there's a brand new coffee shop next door with my name on it, putting them out of business. So the first thing is you have to pay attention. Because if you pay attention, you'll start to learn that money is everywhere. Every building is owned. These are skyscrapers, bro. Billions. Every apartment nowadays is a million. Million. You drive down a street in London, you're driving past trillions of dollars. There's money everywhere. It's all around us. When I was broke, I thought that the world was broke. I thought that there was no money. And then I got rich and realized that I was completely and utterly wrong. There's so much money. It's everywhere. If I go to try and buy a plane or a jet, they're always sold out. My yacht is a fucking 6-year waiting list. I want a Bugatti, they launch it, the email comes to my email address, 2 minutes later, gone. Like, there's so much money. If I want a diamond watch, or a $1 million watch, or $1 million Rolex, you can't get this stuff. There is so much money out there. Once you get to a certain echelon, you realize there's money fucking everywhere. So there's plenty of money in the world. People with no money are just not very good at taking it. So you need to start paying attention. It's the first thing. Second thing is network. It's hard to make money if you don't know anybody who has money. If you sit in a room full of ice cream experts and all they talk about is ice cream, how to make ice cream, the different flavors, how to store it, how to move it, how to sell it, even by accident, if you hang around with these people long enough, when someone asks you a question about ice cream, guess what you're gonna know the answer. You're gonna say, you know what? That's because it's pistachio, and that needs to be 2 degrees higher than chocolate. And you're gonna look like a smart ass. So if you sit in a room full of people who are making a bunch of money, everyone understands this. Your network is your net worth. You're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Everybody understands this. And then they still hang around with fucking losers because they're dummies. You're right, I am the sum of the 5 people I spend the most time with. Anyway, this is my friend Nick. He's so funny when we go drinking because he gets really drunk. Losers. I don't talk to anybody who is not winning. Everybody whose phone, every phone call I will answer, if I answer a phone call, it is from a winner. I don't talk to losers. Everyone I talk to is rich. Everyone I talk to is making money. Everybody. If my entire reality is full of multimillionaires making money, how am I not going to make money? And this is why network is so important, is because it's the same reason that wolves hunt in packs. If you're a lone animal, you have one set of eyes. But if you're a pack, you're watching every single angle, every single side. Perhaps I might miss something. I'm as perspicacious as possible. But one of my friends identifies that the war in Ukraine is going to change and the Russian ruble is going to pump. And you can make a bunch of money on a Forex trade, for example. I may not have noticed, but he'll notice. Now I've made a bunch of $1 million for getting a text message, right? Because I have friends who are paying attention. All of us are paying attention. So your network is super important. That's another thing. We'll go into this because I have something called the War Room, which is also on corporatate.com. I'll let people read for themselves. But that's my private network. And we specifically talk about money and a few other things. But that's
Is that like more like a mastermind?
It's the real world's how to make money, and the War Room's what to do with money, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's all on corporatate.com. I don't want to get off track, but it's there. But second is network. And third, it's to identify the reason why you don't have as much money as you want so far. And there's one of three reasons. You are either lazy, stupid, or arrogant. Those are the only three reasons anyone is poor. And you have to identify and choose which one it is. The majority of people are not the one they think they are. The majority of people are the one I'm about to say at the end. So let's start with lazy. There are a lot of lazy people. The unfortunate reality about money is that you are competing. So it's player versus player. It's like anything in the world. If you want that beautiful girl, so does everyone else. You have to win the competition. You want that car, you have to get it first. You want that money, everyone wants that money. You have to compete. It's competitive. Business is competitive. You are competing against people like me. You're competing against people like the people in my network. You're competing about people who only talk about money, who understand money very well, who operate in jurisdictions all around the planet, who are extremely well connected, who know things before you know them, who have mass influence and mass power and mass resource. You're competing against me. This is what you must understand. You're not waking up going, I want to make some money. You're competing against people like me. You're competing against billionaires. You're competing against hedge funds. How did these hedge funds keep growing? Where are they getting that money from? From the brokies. They're robbing you. They're robbing all the poor people from the pension fund, dummy. That's where they get it from. This is who you're competing against. So the competition is absolutely and utterly fierce. Understanding that you're a man with a small pistol up against a mighty army, if you want to add a little bit of laziness on top, you're fucked. So when I say people are lazy, they go, I'm not lazy, I work hard every day. You work 8 hours a day? You work eight? The fuck? If I'm awake, I'm working. I'll be driving my Bugatti Chiron through Dubai, working. I'm texting at the same fucking time. I don't take a second off. I don't take a minute off. I don't relax. I don't rest. I don't stop. I don't chill. None. Ever. I'm either asleep or at work. That's it. The second I wake up, I check my phone, I begin working. I go to the gym in between sets, I am working. I'm online working the entire fucking day until the second I go to sleep, I am at work. That is all I do. And you are at home competing against me, and you want to watch a movie tonight and then say you're not lazy. You're fucking lazy, and you're going to lose forever. That's laziness. Next is stupid. I don't think many people are actually too stupid to be rich. You can be below average IQ and still get very rich. A very small percentage of people are too dumb to be rich. The slave minds, they'll never be rich because the matrix tries to keep you poor, because when you're poor, you can't think, like we talked about earlier. So everything the media tells you is designed to make you poor. They want you broke and struggling, because if you rely on the government for food stamps, then you can't argue with the government, can you? So that's what they want. So anyone who believes in the matrix and believes in media and believes in the lies they're told, anyone who sits there and goes, that's true, it's literally designed to make you broke. That's why it's all a scam. Do your GCSEs, do your A-levels, get in debt, go to uni, get out, get a shit job, get a mortgage. Don't worry, when you've paid that mortgage off when you're 61, then you'll have enough money to go to Spain for holiday. Then your pension comes. Oh, government doesn't have the pension money anymore. Funny enough, hedge fund stole it.
Pay half your money in your life in tax.
Oops-de-doops. And then you wake up one day and go, whoa, I just got fucked. So the whole scam, the whole story is a lie because they want you broke. They don't want you rich. If you're rich, you won't listen to them. So all of it's a fucking lie. And intrinsically, we all know this, right? When I pull up in one of my 30 cars to a gas station and people look at me and they see a Lambo or a Ferrari or a Bugatti or a Koenigsegg, whatever I'm driving, nobody goes, wow, he went to school. No, they think drug dealer, gangster, They're thinking he broke the rules, because anyone who follows the rules doesn't get shit. It's all a scam. It's all a fucking lie. So the slave minds are fucked, but those are the only ones who are too stupid to make money. Anybody who understands that the Matrix is lying to them is smart enough. So very small percent are too stupid. Inside of our school, at the height of it, before the Matrix attack, we're relaunching now, we had 175,000 students.
Wow.
When we had 175,000 students, maybe 2,000 we kicked out for being too stupid. It's step by step. Do this, do that, do this, and don't be lazy. The fuck? It's not that hard, right? So stupid's not the problem. So we have people who are lazy, very few are stupid, but the majority, the main reason most people are broke is because they are arrogant. I will sit here and say all the things I've said. I will do this, take time out of my life for free. Somebody at home will watch and digest it for free. They will agree with the things that are being said, or at least be entertained enough to continue to watch. And then I'll say, I'll teach you how to make money online. CobraTate.com, you can join the real world. And they'll sit there and go, nah, I'll do it myself. They're arrogant. They have these egos from fuck knows where because they didn't earn it. And they're just too arrogant to listen to anybody. I became world champion by listening to my coach. I didn't become world champion by walking in and saying, I'll do it myself. That's not how you get anywhere in life. You have to listen. If Mike Tyson were to walk in, or if Elon Musk were to walk in here and talk to me about money, I wouldn't be sitting there going, I can do that. I'd be like, oh, Mr. Elon, richest man in the world. Hello, very nice to meet you. Please, even though I already understand I don't want to launch a car brand or put rockets in space, please, you must know some things I don't know. How do you deal with the currency fluctuations? Does inflation impact how much it costs for you to send a rocket into space? Like, I'd ask him something that's useful, right? But some people are so brutally arrogant that they'll sit here and they'll listen to all the things I said, and they'll agree that I'm intelligent, and they'll agree I'm massively successful, but they'll sit there and go, yeah, but you know what? I'll do it myself. I don't want to join that school because, I'll do it myself. They're arrogant. Everybody's fucking arrogant. I sit with people who I used to go to school with from Luton who are still broke and tell them how to make money. And you know what they do? They answer back. Yeah, but it's not that simple because, the wife gets the kid, and you know what, and I don't like to do things that way. The way I like to work, the way you like to work is why you're fucking broke. So what the fuck are you talking about? You just sat here and wasted 10 minutes of my time. I told you how to take your business of painting and decorating or whatever the fuck you're doing and make a serious amount of money, and now you're telling me the way you like to work? Then stay fucking broke. The fuck you want me to do? What level of arrogance? But this is people. They'll sit with a multimillionaire and tell you their view. Oh, I think that know when you're out qualified and accept it and learn. So we all do. I'm not going to I can't play piano for shit. If the piano teacher walked in here and said, this is what you do, and I said, well, I like to move my hands this way. What kind of dumbass? But this is the arrogance people operate under. So I'd say 20% of people are lazy, 20 to 25%. A large portion of the world are not lazy. They're actually working exceptionally hard, but they're doing the wrong thing. 5% of people are too stupid. So say 25%, 5% is 30%. But 70% of people are brutally arrogant, and this is why they are poor. That's the truth.
And how did you make your first million?
Good question. I've talked about this already. It was an unorthodox strategy. I've talked about it at length, so I won't give the whole story because it's too long. But I identified a gap. I identified a market. I approached the scenario and the situation extremely professionally. And I worked exceptionally hard. And I made my first $1 million. So my first millions came from owning a webcam studio. So I saw a little advertisement in the corner of a web page saying, talk to live girls now. I've never been a porn guy. I'm not interested in that shit. But I was like, that's interesting. I know some girls who need some money. Boom, boom, boom. I put together this apparatus, extremely professional. No fucking sexual misconduct. No Dan Bilzerian. No threesomes. Nothing. Very professional. 50-somes if it's down. Very professional outfit. And I used all my business knowledge and all my life knowledge, and I applied it. I worked 22-hour days, I would say. I got to the point where I was so tired. But I'd say, you know what, give me 20 minutes. And if I could hear the alarm go off, I'd get up. Sometimes I just slept clean through it, and I slept an hour or two. For months and months and months, and I built an empire. I built an insanely large empire at one point. I'm completely out of that business now, but how did I do it?
As in, did you sell it?
I didn't sell it. I just closed it all down. I moved on. I started making a bunch of money and I found other opportunities. But how did I get that opportunity? Perspicacity. First thing I said, pay attention. I paid attention. I looked at the girl. I'll give you the coffee shop example. This is what I did. I clicked on that advert. I saw the girl sitting there, miserable, waiting for a customer. I thought nobody's going to buy from an unhappy bitch. The men who are paying her are trying to escape an unhappy life or they wouldn't be doing this shit. So when I got my girls online, smile. Happy girls get paid. That was the token. That was the slogan. Happy girls get rich. Joking. Ha ha ha. Who's you going to pay? You're going to pay the girls like, yeah, having a blast. So I paid attention to the competition. I saw an opportunity, just like the coffee shop. So all the things they did wrong. The room was messy. Camera quality was shit. There's the basic stuff. The way the girl acted and interacted. All that stuff. And I applied it all by paying attention countless hours watching everybody else, finding the way to do it better, just like with the coffee shop, and I did it better. So I was absolutely and utterly perspicacious, and that's how you make money. And I did it with that, but I could have done it with anything. And now I do it with everything. The story of me sending a text message via my network and having a coffee shop is a true story. I don't think I've been in there maybe twice. I don't even go. And I have mechanisms in place to make sure I'm not robbed too badly because unfortunately a little bit of cash goes missing. But everything's in place and it makes me money. I don't think I've even drunk my own coffee. I put together a list. It needs to be like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. I have competent people who work for me, which is very hard to find, but I do. They understand to follow the doctrine to the doctrine. And I'm getting money into a bank account. That's it. And you can do that with literally anything if you have a strong network and you pay attention. You can do anything. Even podcasts. We're doing a podcast right now. You guys are already big and successful at this. I'm telling you, you can look at the biggest podcasts in the world and still see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. That's the game. That's the game. And then you have to outcompete everybody else. That's how.
And what's your net worth now?
You know what's? It's kind of funny because
Was that sigh? That's the shittest question so far on this show.
No. It's. I don't actually really know because they say if you don't know what you've got, they say if you know what you got, you ain't got much, and it's so fucking true. I don't know how much that coffee shop is worth. I know what it makes me roughly a month. I don't know what I could sell it for. I can guess now, like if I were to put a 6 times multiplier on it, I could guess. But then, what am I doing for every property? How much are all my properties worth? Fuck knows. Different than when I bought them. So the price has gone up, down. I don't even check. Don't know. So how much all the property worth? I can guess. How much the business is worth? I could guess. How much is my brand worth? If I put my name to something, it sells. I've been offered $50, $60, $70 million to sell junk to children, which I wouldn't do because I have too much morals. How much is my brand worth? I'm the most Googled man on the fucking planet. God knows. I couldn't guess. I would guess that because there's different metrics of measuring the value of, say, a business, sometimes they'll put a 3 times multiplier on it, sometimes they'll put an 8 times multiplier on it. Let's put it this way. Hustlers University, 175,000 students, was doing about $13 million a month profit. That's an online educational company. Online is the future. Education is the future. It was seamless, fantastic. It outcompeted Oxford, Cambridge, everybody. It was the best school on the planet. Not just because we had 175,000 students, because we retained 175,000 students. That's the key. 175,000 people were making more money than they invested each month. There's no other platform on the planet that can do that. We had no competition. There was no other online digital learning platform that was even 1% as close. We were the largest online digital teaching platform on the planet. And everybody wants to make money. So everybody wants to join. Male, female, rich country, poor country. That's $13 million a month that was doing. So what's that? $120, $130 million a year? 8 times multiplier? What's that worth? 800 million by itself? Like, depending how you want to estimate it, I can sit here and say I'm worth $200 million or $1 billion. I could be a billionaire with net worth for the things I own, things I'm in control of. Depends on how you want to analyze it. So the reason I sighed is because I don't have a clue how much money I'm worth. I don't know. I know that if I want shit, I get it. I know that the world is effectively free now. I'm at a point of money where I never, ever contemplate the price of anything ever. The whole world, the only way I can explain being ridiculously rich is that everything is completely free. So if you want something, even 1%, even if you want something a little bit, the cost is 0% consideration. So I have 30 cars. I tried to stop at 10, but the car owners know I'm going to buy them, right? So They decide to launch a new Lambo and they text me and go, hey, new Lambo. I don't even ask to see a picture. I'm just like, okay. Because I'm not going to notice the money going missing. So why not at least, I might only glance at it for 3 seconds. I may never even drive it. I might just go, oh, yeah, it's all right. That's worth the money to me because the money is worth nothing. So the whole world is free. If I want coffee, it's like I buy and do things like the same way a person not even buys a coffee, like a penny sweet. It's just like, oh, fuck it, all right. It doesn't mean anything. I can't explain it. I don't have a clue how much money I'm worth. I don't know. That's the answer. I don't know. I just know I can have whatever I want.
Do you have more cars or more girlfriends?
I'm a man of God. You didn't hear?
Well,
God wants us to procreate, so I guess.
They were going to be two separate questions.
Yeah.
But last time I looked, you had 29 cars, so you've clearly bought one more.
Correct.
And I saw somewhere you said you had 20 girlfriends. So more cars or more girlfriends? And let's talk cars and girlfriends.
Yeah, good question. So yeah, I have around 30 cars now. I don't sell them because I don't need money. So what's the point in selling it?
Do you buy ones that you think will go up in value, or do you just not care?
Don't give a shit.
No.
I'll buy what I want.
Whatever.
Yeah, what I want. I actually buy them because I'm curious. So like the new Maserati came out, the MC20. I don't think it'll be that good a car. The reviews are actually pretty mediocre. I've never driven one, so I bought one. So I drove it 10 minutes. So yeah, it's shit. Put it on the drive. That was it.
And you'll just keep it?
Yeah. What am I going to do? So what am I sell it for? Money? Fucking money. I don't want. It's the last thing I want. I don't give a shit. So I don't need money, so I'd never sell it. The headache of dealing with someone buying it off me is not worth the 350 grand. Like someone going, hey, can I come check out the car? Oh, fuck off, I'm out. Oh, fuck, get fucked. Like, I can't be bothered. Even telling my assistant to deal with it is too much hassle for 350 G's. I don't give a shit. So it just stay there forever until it rusts to fucking bits. So, yeah, that's the main reason I have so many cars. And also the reason I have so many cars is because there's really nothing left to buy. When I was poor, I thought, when I get rich, I'm going to buy all this stuff. But then you buy some nice clothes. You buy a couple diamond watches, or 20, whatever. You buy a house. What's it about? Plates, cups, okay, nice computer, nice big TV. My TV's worth $500,000. I have a $500,000 fucking television. You buy some cars, there's nothing to buy. All you really need is a laptop. When you got a laptop, you can do anything you need. You got a laptop and a phone and a t-shirt to wear, and that's your life and your empire sorted. So everything else is just dumb shit, right? So there's nothing else to buy. So I buy cars because there's nothing else to buy. As for girlfriends, I'm a man of God. I'm a good man, and I'm an honest man.
By the way, there's no judgment coming from this chair on this question.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I think that love is a beautiful thing, and I think that men and women are designed to be together. And I think that the world is a more interesting place when you see. In fact, I'll change that answer. I think that the happiest man on earth you can find has a good relationship, and the happiest woman on earth you can find has a good relationship. I think we're social animals, and I think that a good relationship is such an integral part to our spiritual well-being. And I am very fortunate that I have many concurrent, very good relationships with women who are extremely understanding and kind and loving and nice to me. And they understand my value, and they treat me with utmost respect. And it's certainly a fantastic thing, because I think that women are, in their own way, very powerful in the complete different way that men are powerful. And this is what, when I got attacked for being misogynistic, people didn't understand. I'm not insulting women, I'm saying that we are different. And I may physically and financially and intellectually take control and protect my women, but certainly they will spiritually protect me. I know that if a woman truly loves you, that's a powerful force. I've had days where 3 different girls, I woke up to 3 different girls texting me, be careful, I had a bad dream last night, and something bad happened that day. That's happened to me. I know that if I get very sick or I'm in hospital, I'll want my woman there more than I'll want my
your
boys.
woman or your 20 women.
Well, you'll want a female more than you'll want your boys.
Yeah.
They have a healing energy. And there's times where they're absolutely and utterly extremely powerful forces. So yes, if you're a man who wants to have a complete life, you want to be successful and competent in all realms, you need to also make sure that your relationship ticks that box, or however many you feel you need to be satisfied.
So how many girlfriends you got?
You don't let me get away with the politician answers, do you?
No.
I have a very good life and a very good relationship with many fantastic females, and also I know some great I have a good life. That's the only answer I can say. I don't want to give numbers. And the reason I won't, I'll tell you the reason I won't.
Okay.
There's large contingents of feral psychopaths aiming to destroy me. So I don't like to give away too much information about certain things. That's the only reason why.
Yeah.
Like I could sit here and say 1, I could say 25, I could say whatever.
Well, it's clearly not 1 because the plurals come out a few times.
Perhaps it is 1, and perhaps that's the big deception.
This
Perhaps-
metric shit isn't working on me.
Perhaps the feral psychopaths are now confused. Does he have 1 wife? Does he have 35 concubines? I can't work it out. Who do we contact to attempt to attack him? Because your females are your biggest weakness. As a man of genuine competence, your biggest weakness is your female. I'll tell you right now, if I had to get a man, if I had to get him, and he knew I was after him, he'd be a hard target. But you know how I'd get him? His woman. Every fucking time. She's the one who'll post the Instagram story. She's the one who won't forget to fucking hide her phone. She's the one who you can lie to. Hi, this is Officer Deputy Inspector bullshit. We think you might be in this hotel. There's been a problem with you. We've heard this report today. Well, yeah, we are. What's the problem? Yeah, we are. That's how they get you. You're a woman. She doesn't think fast enough. She doesn't understand the true dangers of the world. Your women is how they will get you. And I'm talking from experience. You want someone, you look for their chick. Even the police do it. Guy's wanted. Yeah, go to his ex-girlfriend's house. 9 times out of 10, guess where he's fucking hiding? Some chick's house. Who's he been fucking lately? Go there. Done. It's not hard. So your woman is how they get you. So when you're playing chess, my father was a chess grandmaster, besides the king, the number 1 piece they can attack that will make you have to react is your queen. It's a powerful piece. So if the government want you, they can attack your woman. If your enemies want you, they can use your woman. You can sit in a police interview. They can arrest you and your wife. You and your wife can have the same story. Then they can sit with your wife and say, we went through his phone. Do you know he's fucking this girl? And she'll go, what? She'll change stories. Your woman's is your number 1 weakness. That's how they get to you. That's how they wreck you. So for me to sit here and say I had this many girls, that's just telling all my enemies how to try and attack me. If any girlfriend who's serious of mine does not have social media, she does not exist out in the world for anyone to find or see for a reason. Because I am a target for very powerful people, some at the absolute highest echelons of society and some at the bottom. There are groups of men with AK-47s sitting around dingy lit rooms thinking about killing me. And I don't want someone to go, you know what? This bitch always shows what restaurant she's in because she's a dummy. So let's go kidnap her ass and put her screaming down the phone at Tate and demand some money. That's how it goes. Women are a weakness. They're absolutely not really a weakness. And I am obliged to protect them. So for that reason, I don't like to answer the question.
And I respect that.
Thank you.
I did say you say 20 saw you say 20 on another video.
Yeah, but you know, it is crazy because what's actually most crazy about women is even the women who know me intimately and know the dangers of my life, still sometimes oh, it's just an Instagram story. Like, how can you pretend it's not a big deal? Oh, but I'm with you. Exactly. You feel like super safe and everything's fine because you're with me. But I know that if there's 20 of them with machetes, I will lose. I'm glad you see me as Superman. I appreciate it. But I'm the one with the burden of responsibility here. And it's just incredible how the world that men live in, or the world that I live in, is so violent and so dangerous and so calculated. Whereas women, because we try very hard to protect them, as we should. I said earlier, I like women who have been trauma-free. I like sweet, innocent, pure women. They just see sunshine and rainbows. They think we're just in a beautiful restaurant. They think we've just gone to central London to do some shopping. Ooh, life's fine. They don't have any contemplation of the realities. And if you try and explain it to them, they kind of sit there and go, I get it, but, you know, it was her birthday. And then, no, it doesn't matter if it's her birthday. They'll kill me on her birthday. They don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about her birthday, and I know the bitch. You think they give a fuck? Like, they don't operate in that realm. In fact, there was a rapper who got killed 3 weeks ago in LA because the girl put the fucking Instagram story for her likes. She wants some likes on her Instagram. Who, with the rapper, the name of the restaurant, he's blasted, so he's dead. He's in the ground. And who's she fucking now? Someone else. Sad. It's a sad reality. It's a sad reality. So women are your number 1 weakness. As a man, if you're going to engage with females, which you need to for your spiritual well-being, you also have to understand that there are people out there who will use them against you. Like I said, if I had a genuine enemy who I genuinely wanted to hurt, if he didn't know it, he wouldn't stand a chance. But if he knew it, he could do a lot to stop me. But I guarantee if you follow the women he's fucking from long enough, you'll get him. Every fucking time. Wait for her to leave the house at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. Where's she going? Booty call. Cool. Done. Every time.
So something that's really strikes me here is you're very articulate and you know your power and influence. And you've been accused of being a misogynist. And my 8-year-old daughter, she's on TikTok and she'll watch you, so will my son.
Yeah.
And you've said the word bitch 4 times.
Correct.
So I would like you in your own words, with no loaded agenda from
Yep.
me, to
Yep.
just sort of explain, as someone who knows is influencing people so much.
Yep.
My 8-year-old daughter who might,
Very
Daddy's
valid.
in Dubai, can't wait to see Andrew Tate.
Very valid.
Because they are excited.
Very valid.
Yeah.
Very valid. It's a valid question. The reason I will speak certain ways is to be, to a degree, deliberately provocative. Also because there's a humoric element. I also called a man a dickhead earlier. So it's not gendered.
Yeah.
I call people names if I believe it has a humorous effect. So it's not particularly gendered. Also, I certainly do not talk about women in the way that 95% of mainstream music does, for example. So I'm certainly not the biggest enemy or evil force on earth.
So why do you get so much shit, but it's all right in a rap video?
Correct, because of my influence. But you made a valid point. Like, I could have sat here and not said that word. You're completely right. I am, but to a point, I would hate to sit and say, oh, the Matrix has attacked me to the point where I'm going to truly censor myself. Like I said, there's a comedic effect to it when I do it. I'm very respectful of people all the time. Nobody's ever said I'm anything bad. Like I said, no women have come forward and accused me of anything ever. But you made a very valid point. It's a valid point. I have to accept the point. It's very valid. I know why I'm doing it. It's conscious. But there's a humoric element, and I don't want to sit and say, you know what, oh, the Matrix attacked me, so I better just just not be that person. I'm going to call a guy a dickhead.
Yeah.
In my story.
Also
and
true.
I might say, this bitch who might get me killed, because that's how I feel. If a girl's going to do an Instagram story that threatens my life, I'm not going to call her an angel. That's the story. Is what it is.
When we were talking before we went live, you said you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And by the way, I said we were going to do 6 rounds with Andrew, and we've sort of done most of rounds 1 and 2.
Yeah, bro, I can talk, I know.
Yeah, and I'm really enjoying this, so thank you.
No problem.
So when and how did you know that they who control the world were coming for you and that your influence had grown too powerful?
I knew because of the orchestration of the attacks. The attacks were exceptionally well orchestrated, and there's no such thing as coincidence in my world. Like I said, my mental model allows me to predict the future, and if I believed in coincidence, then I would have been surprised when I was canceled. But I don't believe in coincidence because I've learned that is never true. So every single day I get a report from my staff that analyzes all social medias and news outlets because it's our job.
As in your social media or the social media?
The world.
Yeah.
Where I am, what's being said about me, how many comments are positive, how many comments are negative, percentages, etc. I get a report daily.
Yeah.
I got that report, looked pretty good, looked pretty easy. Went to sleep, woke up the next day, 150 different news publications.
Wow.
With the same version of a story that I'm misogynistic, with basically the same words slightly rewritten, in absolute sync. Is that a coincidence? It can't.
Well, you don't believe in them, so.
It can't possibly be. How can 150 from New Zealand and Australia to Norway to America all decide the same day to write the same version of the same story? Then, 3 days later, 35 prominent LGBT influencers did an Instagram post with the same picture and the same wording saying that I'm dangerous to the world. In perfect sync, within the same 6 minutes. Post. Algorithms hyping it up, getting it millions and millions of likes and views and comments. This was an orchestrated attack. So once I understood the attack was orchestrated by someone powerful enough to affect the world's news, I understood the chance of me not being deleted is now 0. It's a matter of time. So I wrote a comment, I wrote a post saying that there's a lot of attention on me right now. As God's soldier, I'm going to turn negativity into positivity. Every like this post gets, I'm going to donate money to charity. That was my post. I put that up. News articles all around the world completely ignored it, even though I'd pledged $3 million to charity in front of everybody. Completely ignored all of it. No, only negative news about Andrew right now. And there was orchestrated attacks, one after another. Boom, 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 boom. To the day I was first removed from Facebook and Instagram was the initial ban. And from there, it was dominoes effect.
Do you know people now get their post shut down if they share a photo of you with them?
Yep.
Well, of course you do, but
Yeah. If you take a selfie with me and put it on Instagram, they'll delete it. They're trying to.
they'll warn you.
They'll try to.
I've seen the warnings.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
They'll try to unperson me. They want me to disappear from public consciousness. And this is my exact point. I am the first person they've attempted to do this to, where they have genuinely failed. I'm more famous now than I was before the ban. They have failed. What happens is if you shoot somebody with your weapon and he doesn't die, you find a new weapon. This all goes back to what I was saying earlier. I know what they're thinking.
See, this is, I wanted to talk about this because I don't know that cancel culture exists because, well, it doesn't for you and it doesn't for Joe Rogan. Because try and cancel someone and actually they just get more fucking famous.
Well, Rogan wasn't canceled because he stayed on Spotify. He was never truly deleted.
No.
But cancel culture certainly does exist. It happens every single day to people who are just not as big as me. Every single day, people are being annihilated in real time. If you want to see cancel culture, I recommend you look at the last 3 years of this pandemic and ask about anybody who stood up and said, this is bollocks. Ask them about their social media accounts, because they ain't fucking got any. Small people get wiped out daily by the thousands.
But can't they just keep talking and
To
be
who?
more famous?
To who?
Well,
How?
Your accounts have been shut down. You're bigger than ever.
Completely, because I am an exceptionally difficult target. That's why I'm going to end up dead. Most people, when they lose their social medias and their banks, they're done. They can't talk. I can sit and I have a network of thousands of people around the world. Like I said earlier, I have a very competent network inside the war room. I'm massively influential. I can sit and talk on other people's podcasts. I can fly around the world to end up at the right place at the right time. I have all of the youth's energy behind me. If you're a normal person saying, they're making me take an injection I don't want to take, this is bullshit, and they delete your Facebook, who the fuck are you going to talk to? You're going to go stand on the corner and yell at passerbys? People have tried that too. That doesn't work. Once they silence you, you're done. Thousands of people are being silenced every day because what did I say earlier about the Matrix? They want to tell one side of the story and they have to delete the opposite side to create a false version of reality. That's how the Matrix works. So cancel culture is super real.
Yeah.
You just don't hear about the people who are canceled. It's survivorship bias. This is the reason why you don't believe in cancelship culture.
I'm not saying I didn't. I just wanted to
Cool.
throw it at
It's
you.
survivorship bias.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. In World War II, the planes that were coming back with bullet holes from the AA, the RAF said we need to put more armor where the planes are getting hit most often. Where the most bullet holes are, we need more armor. Makes sense, right? And then some very smart person said, no. The places that are getting hit so often and the planes still getting home are the places it's okay to get hit. The places where we never see a plane get hit and still make it home, where there's no bullet holes, is where we need the armor. Because every time a plane gets hit there, they never make it back. It's survivorship bias. So
we don't know what we don't know. We don't see what we don't see.
Correct.
Yeah.
We don't know about the people who are canceled because that's the point of cancellation.
Yeah.
We don't know how many thousands of people are being rejected from speaking and how many democratic voices are silenced in real time. That's the whole point of it. You know about me, but you don't know about the 10,000 already happened to by 8 p.m. today.
Yeah.
It happens every single day. And that's how they keep a control on the narrative. That's what's scary about it, is that it's happening to everyone.
Yeah.
I'm just a unique individual because I have a very powerful network and I've managed to circumvent it. But most people don't have my resources and capability. And like I said, that's put me in a very precarious position.
Do you think this raises the question that it's very important to be as decentralized as possible?
Yeah, but why would the people in charge of the world allow that? If you're in charge of the world, your only concern, you don't care about food, you're not worried about a house. Like, what's your only concern? Staying in charge. You're in charge of the world. You have one concern in your life, staying in charge. Are you going to decentralize information and power? Are you going to allow that to happen?
Doesn't mean you can't create it for yourself as best you can.
Well, I'm sure there's people out there who could try very hard, and some people are doing it. I've moved to Rumble off of YouTube. I've moved to rumble.com, which is a YouTube alternative, and he's an absolute hero. And he's fighting for free speech, and he doesn't censor me in any way. He's a complete hero. Absolutely, and people are fighting and standing up. But I'm saying that you are fighting against a very powerful competition, exceptionally powerful competition. And it's dangerous to do, and it's very difficult to do. It's hard. But yeah, I love the idea of a decentralized, fair world. I'd love the idea of utopian scenarios. I'd love to live in a utopia. Who wouldn't? I just don't think it's human nature. I think as long as humans exist, it's not going to be that way. And I actually think we're at the tipping point where it's going to get really out of control. Because once AI takes control, which is coming, then we're really fucked. Because the current limit on the tyranny they can enact on the populace is how far the police force can be brainwashed, right? If they kill everyone who's got blonde hair, if the police force are brainwashed enough, they'll do it. But if they're not, then the elites can't enact that law because the police will say no. But once the policing is either robotic or AI, then you're fucked because there's no longer any human element. And that's where it's coming. And you don't have to think about RoboCop. You have to think about AI as a whole. You have to think about your life being controlled to the point where your bank and your money and your social media and your passport number and everything is linked together to the point where the second you say something wrong on Facebook, there's a repercussion to whether your passport can be used, whether your bank is open.
So you mean central digital currencies are all linked to this?
CBDCs, exactly.
Fucking scare me, they do.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's right.
Scare me.
CBDCs is perfect. Once they have absolute control of the money and they can decide how and when and where you can spend it.
And track it.
Then you're fucked.
Yeah.
You're fucked. So look what just happened to me. I said things they didn't like, and I suffered from travel bans. My money was taken. But right now we're doing it the slow, old-fashioned way, right? You have to do the media, you have to convince the world that this person's bad with the media, then you have to cancel them, then you have to keep using the media to lie about them, keep the narrative up, then you have to go and use terms and conditions to get you can't do that to everyone. But once it's all automated in AI, you can certainly do it to everyone. Once you like the wrong post, oh no. Oh, your bank doesn't work today. You go hungry today. You can eat tomorrow, but you better not like that post again. You like food, don't you? You like to eat. That's where we're getting. Anyone who sits here and thinks that's not going to come is a fucking dummy. That is the end result. Because the people in charge of the world want to stay in charge of the world. I don't blame them. I want to stay in charge of my empire. Like I said, I'm not saying these people are bad. Don't kill me yet, gentlemen. I'm talking to you. I'm not saying you're necessarily any worse than anyone else. I want to stay in charge of my empire and they want to stay in charge of theirs. Who the fuck wouldn't? I get it. I'm just telling you how they're going to do it. That's absolutely and utterly, that's where it's coming.
But you have, if I understand rightly, us talking before off camera, moved towards some decentralization where you've taken control of your online payment systems, make your own bank.
Completely.
Can you talk about that a bit?
Completely, yeah, you have to decentralize. You have to try and control things the best you possibly can. So yeah, I've decentralized. The real world is an evolution of Hustlers University because we control absolutely everything from head to toe. That means that we cannot be censored or controlled or attacked in any way. But as much as you want to decentralize, the bottom line of reality and civilization remains the same. I've decentralized all of my I'm even a decentralized brand, bro. I'm all over the internet. I don't have an account. Thousands of accounts.
That's powerful.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've decentralized as much as a person can possibly decentralize, but I still bleed. And that's the bottom line of reality. So I understand that no matter how much I decentralize, the bottom line's the same.
But you're not going to give up the fight just because you can't have a guaranteed win, are you?
I can't give up the fight because my name's Tate. So it's impossible.
Was it a plan to get so many people on social media posting on your behalf?
If I told the secret of how I hacked every single algorithm on the planet, it'd be worth trillions of dollars. But what I will say is that I sat with the War Room, which is my network, which there's more information on corporatate.com. I sat with extremely competent and capable people. We were very perspicacious. We analyzed the algorithms. I tell everyone exactly how I do it. I say this to people, you know what? And this goes back to my original point about how arrogant people are. I'm going to sit here and tell people how I became the most Googled man on the planet, and nobody's going to even fucking try or even pay attention because they're fucking arrogant. I pay attention to the algorithms. I analyze the algorithms. I analyze what worked and what didn't. I sat with my network. We've tried to find out a way we could hack it or exploit it. We made a 6-month plan, and within 6 months, I became the most Googled man on the planet. That's what I did. That's it. I paid attention, went to my network, worked hard. Ta-da! The end. That's all I did. And I'll say this, people go, yeah, anyway, back to TV, dummies. That's how I did it.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. I can't tell you what I learned in my findings because that's worth trillions of dollars. I can't tell you what I found out. I can't tell you exactly how my network exploited what we found out. I'm not going to tell you that because that is literally worth trillions of dollars. And I'm still using parts of it, not all of it, because we've ramped down specifically and purposefully. we're now operating at about 15 to 20% effectiveness. If I wanted to be the only face on TikTok and the only face on Instagram Reels on a platform I'm banned on, I could do it in a week. I could still do it.
So why don't you do it?
The time is coming, my friend. Patience. Patience. You know, it's like you have a girlfriend. Sometimes you do it right. Sometimes you just want to go to sleep. Not tonight, baby. If you do it all the time, it loses its magic. So the time is coming. But I can't tell people how I do it, but I will tell people that I paid attention and I worked with very competent people who are inside of my organization. And we're the hardest working people on the planet. They're all like me. They're awake, they work. This is who we are. This is what we do.
So round 3 is a bit more lighthearted. It's, would you fight?
Would I fight?
Yeah, well, that's what's coming.
Let's go.
Before, I've got 5 people I want to ask you about, but before we do, what do you think of the plethora, the growth of all these YouTubers who are now getting into celebrity fighting, KSI, Jake Paul, Logan Paul? What do you think of this movement?
I think it's a really good thing. I think it's the old-fashioned way, a straightener. You know, instead of making stupid YouTube videos at each other all day long, insulting each other back and forth like girls, they're saying, meet me on this day and time and fight. I respect that. That's how I was raised. That was my career. Anyone I had a problem with, I fought, and the better man walked out as a winner. I think it's the best thing that could possibly happen for society. Good. Hope it keeps happening. Hope every time YouTubers disagree, they fight. Good. Good. It's better than making YouTube videos at each other back and forth like fucking girls. And anyone who's made a YouTube video about me, like True Jordy is one. He's a fat fuck. He needs to get destroyed by me, but he's scared. There's some guy called Hassan, which is he's a strange guy. He wears dresses. I'm not sure why he decides to dress. He dresses like a girl all the time and he has long hair. He's weird. I'd love to whoop his ass. But these people are afraid to see me in the cage, right? Because they know I'd absolutely not destroy them.
So you would go and have a fight with them?
Completely, because I know I'd win and they deserve it. But that's why they'll never do it, right? They'll just do YouTube videos about me, but they'll never actually meet me in fair competition, which invalidates their entire opinion.
Yeah.
Right? So if someone goes, I disagree with Andrew, but I'm scared to ever see Andrew. Well, then who gives a fuck what you think? You're all pussies. So they're all cowards. All of my enemies are cowards. So yeah, but I think it's a great thing. If people who disagree with me had to meet me in the cage, there'd be a lot less stupid videos on the internet.
But can't we disagree without fighting?
What's the bottom line of society?
But it doesn't always get to the bottom line.
But it doesn't because of the threat of the bottom line.
If I had a fight every time I disagreed with someone, fucking I'd be fighting all day, every day.
No, but I'm saying the reason that there isn't a fight every time, and I'm not saying we should live in a complete savagery, but I'm saying it is the bottom line of differing opinions, right? The reason war eventually happens is two governments disagree to the point where discourse breaks down. We try discourse. Of course we do. But the only reason discourse is even respected in the first place, the only reason you'll even have delegation from another country and entertain them is because you understand that country has an army. If that country had no army at all, when their delegation came, you'd say, get fucked, and just ignore them completely. It is the bottom line, it is the underpinning of possible violence that makes you try and avoid the violence. It's the underpinning of society. So if I've had cordial conversations with idiots on the internet, which are so stupid and dense that they cannot possibly understand how inferior they are to me, and we've now reached the bottom line, what's the bottom line?
So how come you've never had any of these fights
Because
yet?
they won't fight me, because they are cowards.
Right.
That's it. So this is my point. So I agree with you. You've had discussions that didn't end in violence, as have I, of course. But whether you realized it or not, those underpinnings have always been there. And people and humans intrinsically know this, and I'll tell you why. Because men, if you disagree, normal men, day to day, you will have an argument differently with a 7-foot-tall man than you would a 5-foot-tall man. Whether you notice it, whether it's subconscious or not, you will talk to him differently, you will explain your opinions differently, and your body language will be different because you understand if you disagree too much, what's going to happen. That's the reality. I've seen it myself. I know how people argue with me because they know I'm so capable. Very few, no one shouts in my face. Funny that. I wonder why. That's how the world works.
So these YouTubers, do you think they've really disrupted how fights are promoted and boxing and UFC? Do you think they've been good or bad? Because boxing and UFC has sort of not really embraced them fully.
Good question. I don't think they can affect the UFC. I think the UFC is the premier fighting organization on the planet. I think Dana White is a genius. I think that they are completely and utterly insulated from any of this garbage, especially the fact that the YouTubers are boxing and not necessarily fighting in the cage. I think that it's been very good for boxing because I think boxing was dead. Boxing was a corpse, but it was like an alive corpse. It was like Broadway. No one really cares, but it's kind of there. But you kind of want it to stay, but no one really cares.
Yeah.
It was kind of how it was. There's a few big superstar names, but in general, nobody gives a shit about boxing anymore. Everyone cares about MMA. All the children are going to MMA. Everyone's moving over. UFC now owns the fight world. And boxing needs interest, and I think that the YouTubers are bringing interest to the sport. So I think it's a fantastic thing.
So would you fight Jake Paul?
Good question. That was in conversations at some point. I think Jake Paul is a man who is very dedicated to his craft. He is not just a YouTuber. Jake Paul is a boxer. He spends his life training. He has a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of resource. The idea that he's just a YouTuber is foolish. KSI is just a YouTuber. Jake Paul is a boxer, and he is certainly the best of all the influencers who are currently fighting today, hands down. Would I fight him? Well, there's not a man on earth I wouldn't fight. It just depends on the scenario. Depends on the situation. For me to fight Jake Paul, it wouldn't be for money, because I don't need money. It wouldn't be for influence, because I'm more famous than him. It would be either a personal beef or me deciding that it was good for me and my brand. It would be a decision I would make very consciously, but I couldn't be bought into it. I couldn't say, hey, you'll be famous. I'm the most famous man on the planet. I don't care, right? But certainly he'd be the only challenge of any of them. He wouldn't be easy to beat. I would knock him asleep, of course, but it would take more than one round. But the rest of them are all just clowns. But Jake Paul is he's a different league to the rest.
So would you fight KSI then if the rest are clowns?
Absolutely. KSI said my name at the end of his last fight. I said yes, then he came out and said I'm too big all of a sudden. He shit himself. So he's a clown. And if Jake were to fight any of them clowns, Jake would destroy all of them. Jake is a boxer, the rest are clowns. Sure, I'd fight KSI. But like I said, I need a genuine reason to do so. I don't need money. I am so many times richer than these people. Like infinitesimally, these guys they're still performing. They're still performing in a circus for pennies, whether it's boxing or anything else. And I did it myself, but you get to a certain level of wealth where you realize I'm beyond it. I'm above it and beyond it. But if KSI genuinely upset me, then sure, I have a straightener and whoop his ass. Why not?
Would you fight Floyd Mayweather?
No, and I got offered that fight.
Ah.
Got offered that fight, and he's one of my heroes, so I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Right.
Even though he's small, and he's good. He's James Floyd Mayweather. He's retired and he's small, and I'm a lot bigger than him, and I'd be fine. I wouldn't get knocked out. It'd be totally fine. He's one of my heroes. I think he's the best boxer of all time, and I couldn't bring myself to.
He's been on the show twice.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, he's a hero of mine.
Yeah.
I love his story. I love his confidence. I love how he self-hypnotizes. Every single word out of his mouth is self-hypnosis. I love how he hypnotizes his opponents. I love his style. Everyone says he's boring. He is not boring. He is. If you appreciate defense, he's the best there's ever been. I absolutely and utterly love Floyd Mayweather, so I couldn't bring myself to ever throw a punch. I have very few heroes in the world, and he's one of them.
Would you fight Mike Tyson?
Again, no, because he's now old. And I would be an absolutely tragic shame to knock out an old version of his prime self. That doesn't feel fair, you know? Prime Tyson would have ripped me apart in a boxing match. I'm not a boxer, right?
Yeah.
Perhaps if I was a boxer and I was heavier, maybe I can make up a bunch of stories. But the truth is I'm a kickboxer and it's his rule set and he was Mike Tyson. He would have beaten me, so to beat him when he's past his prime just feels dishonorable and I'd feel dirty for doing that. So there's no amount of money on the planet that could convince me to fight Mike Tyson.
Would you fight Conor McGregor?
That's an interesting one, I guess. I mean, he's still in his prime. I'm a lot bigger than him. He's very good. He's very capable. We'd certainly have a lot of good trash talk. It'd make a lot of money. But again, I would need a personal problem with him to fight him. The people I want to fight are True Geordie, who I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so he is, the story behind me and True Geordie is very simple. He found out I ran a webcam company. When I was giving my insights on male-female dynamics, saying that I know these things because I have 75 women who work for me, and I also have 75 women who work for me who are being paid by men. So I see the interaction between the man and the webcam girl. I get to hear about the interaction between the man and his wife who he doesn't fuck. And then there's the interaction between me and my webcam girls. So it's like a hierarchy of every single level. So I understand all of it. So when I was saying this, he did a takedown video on me saying that I only know whores and every girl who works for me is a slut and that I'm a pimp and all this crazy shit. And I did a reply video saying, listen, some of the girls who work for me are happily married. I think it's very unfair to judge 75 people you've never met and call them all whores and sluts, especially to sit there, he's a bit fat, to sit there like aggressively screaming at camera that these girls are whores. You don't even know them. He seemed very angry. And my brother said he's way too angry at these girls. Why does he hate these webcam girls so bad? Turns out, a few months later, some messages leaked between him and a webcam girl. That's where his hatred came from. And the messages are him begging to be dominated. He wanted a dildo up his ass. He wanted her to cheat on him. He wanted to worship her, all these crazy shit. And it's all there with his name on it. So then I did another video saying, oh, so it's obviously clear why you had a problem with the girls who worked for me, because you're begging them to dildo you and they're saying, you know, it costs this much and I guess you want it for free. I don't know. He had a deep hatred for women. And I identified that. He obviously shut up after that a little bit. He went away, he came back. Then he said my name a few times. And I said, listen, my friend, we've had our conversations. You've insulted all the girls who worked for me, who were very nice girls. He made some full-grown women cry. I had to console them and say, listen, don't listen to this guy. He made full-grown women break down and cry. He's a bad person. He turns out to be a sexual deviant who was mocked on the internet for a very long time. And some people may have forgotten, but I certainly haven't. Our conversations are pretty much over. What's the bottom line? So the only way he can restore honor after begging for a dildo up his ass is to meet me in the cage and beat me. Because then he gets to say I beat up Andrew Tate and he can stop being a dildo lover. But if he refuses to do that, then he can stay a dildo lover for the rest of his fucking human years and just hide from me. But if he wants to fight me, I will meet him in the cage any day of the fucking week. Bare knuckle, twice on a Sunday. And then he can go from a dildo lover to a dildo lover with a broken face, because I will fucking annihilate him. And he knows it, which is why he won't do it. Along with my other detractors, along with the other weirdos, because everyone who dislikes me seems to be weird. Really strange, everyone who's ever made a takedown video of me on a long enough time frame ends up being a sexual deviant, a pedophile. They're all weirdos. Nobody who supports me has ever come out with some weird shit. But everybody who hates me, sooner or later, there's something weird about them, because I think they hate themselves and they see me as someone they wish they were, as their idol, but they can't admit that. So their idolization gets warped into a strange form of hate. And that's what happens. The other one's Hassan. He's some guy who lives in California. He's really strange. He has this obsession with female drivers and how they're so good at driving. It's a weird guy to talk to. All he talks about is how girls drive better than him. It's weird. Wears dresses, drinks loads of Mountain Dew. Really weird guy. Like the girls he was dating, they were telling me he drinks Mountain Dew all the time. He's very unhealthy. Strange dude. And me and him have had our conversations, and he's scared to debate with me. We debated once and he lost and he's scared to debate with me. So our conversation is basically over. I said, look, I'll beat the shit out of you. But he's scared. So I win by default. It's kind of cool to win by default. It's kind of like you turn up to the match and or flip a coin and halfway up in the air, they're like, you already win. But these people are cowards. So I win by default because no one respects a coward. So all their points of view are invalid because they're cowards. So yeah, bottom line of society, my friend. So the only people I would fight are people who deserve to be annihilated, because I'm an extremely capable person. I'm a feared opponent in all realms of human endeavor. And being in a cage with me, locked inside when I have a personal vendetta against you, is probably one of the worst human experiences a man can go through. I will hurt these people. And they know it. So yes, those are the two I would fight. Anyone else would have to come up with a good reason. I have nothing against Connor. Kind of like the guy. So it'd have to be a good reason. Let's put it that way.
Well, that was a fun round. We've never done a round like that before, have we? Oh no, we did it with Jake Paul. Yeah, we did a Would You Fight round with Jake Paul, didn't we? That was fun. Right. Let's move into round 6, but I'm going to move it up to round 4.
Cool.
Just throw shit up. Quick fire round.
Cool.
So, 15 seconds an answer?
Perfect.
Is happiness the purpose of life?
No, absolutely and utterly not. The purpose of life is to be competent and successful. If you try and base your life and your mentality purely around how happy you are, you'll end up hedonistic and destroyed.
Are entrepreneurs narcissists?
I think you need to be narcissistic to a degree to believe in yourself. I've never seen somebody who gets to the top of the world or the universe in any field who did not have absolute and utter belief in themselves.
What's the most expensive item you've ever bought?
Besides property, I bought a lot of very, very expensive property, planes, boats, but besides those things, it will probably be my Bugatti Chiron for $5.2 million, and I also have a very expensive watch, which is close.
What do you know that most people don't?
I know the secrets to the universe and how to escape the matrix, and I'm trying to make sure that most people know those things. That's why I teach it at cobratate.com, because the more people that escape, the more enemies, the more soldiers I have on my side against the enemy.
You're good at this round.
That's right.
What big thing have you been wrong about in the last 12 months?
That's a very good question, and I'm very self-critical and self-analytical. I actually want to give a longer answer for this one.
Do it.
Good. I'm never wrong, ever, because all the times I was wrong I have punished myself severely. Most humans don't do that. So I can't think of anything I've been wrong about in the last 12 months. It's been years and years and years since I got a call wrong. Like I said, my mental model is designed at predicting the future flawlessly. Most people are happy to be wrong and they don't even apologize to the world or punish themselves for it. Perfect example, and the reason I keep using this example is because it's so recent. There are people out there who are shouting at other people in the supermarket to wear a mask, shouting at other humans, you better wear one. Now they must have realized by now that it's still here, nobody needs a mask, everything's fine, and you were psyoped and tricked by the media. They, as an honorable adult, should stand up and say, I am sorry. They should do a public post on all their social media. I am sorry I believed the lies. I am sorry I helped purport the enslavement of mankind. I'm sorry I shouted at fellow members of the human race. I am sorry I was a tool of the Matrix in its enslavement of man. I am sorry. They don't. You know what's funny? It doesn't even cross their minds. Not only they're not sorry, they don't even think about it. I was so wrong to the point that I'm running my mouth screaming at people. And now I realized I'm wrong, but oops, oh well, Slava Ukraine. Dummies. The reason I'm never wrong is because I punish myself for being wrong. The reason people are wrong all the time is because they don't even know when they're wrong. And once they get told they're wrong, they're like, oh, only human. I'm allowed to make mistakes and yell at people in the supermarket like a fucking dumbass for no reason. That's the majority of the human race. I haven't seen any apologies on Facebook from all these people who were pro-fucking and pro-mask. Have you? I haven't seen a single fucking sorry from any of the people who were totally wrong. None. No wonder they're all fucking dummies. Dumb cunts. Sorry, I shouldn't use that word. Dumb fucks. All of them. And that's why they're going to continue to be wrong into eternity, because they don't punish themselves. I punish myself. If I ever got anything wrong, I would punish myself. If I was wrong about COVID on the scale that most of these people were wrong, I'd be too ashamed to show my face to the rest of the human time. If I was sitting on podcasts purporting the enslavement of man to the level these people have been doing it, I would be too ashamed to walk earth ever again. I would be apologizing profusely for all of my waking years. I would never shut up about how sorry I was for being fucking psyoped. These people do not feel an ounce of guilt, not a single ounce of guilt, because they are godless. If they believed in God, they'd understand what they have done wrong, and they would feel true moral guilt, because God put morality inside of all of us. They're godless creatures. They don't feel a fucking ounce of shame, none of them. And that's why they're always wrong. If I forget my keys, if I lose my phone somewhere around the house, and I can't find it instantly, I'll say to Tristan, 2 minutes. I'll go, okay. If I don't find it in 2 minutes, I punish myself. I'm not allowed to not know where things are. My phone is here. Because when I put it down, I literally think, you've put your phone on the windowsill. That's how I operate. I put my phone on the windowsill. I know where my car key is exactly. I know where my car is parked. I know the way out of the building. If I go on a ferry or a boat and I go up or down a level, I know how I will get out if the boat tips. Because you think, it's only 2 levels. Wait till it's upside down and full of water. That's how you fucking drown. You don't know. I do. I pay attention because I am perspicacious. Most people misplace their phone, look for it for half an hour, find it, and carry on with their life. And they wonder why they misplace it again. If I misplace my phone, I'll donate $100,000 to charity. Or I'll fast for a day and a half. I won't eat. Or I'll make sure I only have 2 hours sleep that night. I will punish myself. So that next time I put my phone down, I don't want to lose it. That's why everyone's fucking wrong all the time. Because they're dumb fucks. And dumb fucks are happy to just go through life being wrong. Oops. And they'll never feel an ounce of shame. They'll never punish themselves for it. They'll never learn and grow. They'll never turn from a caterpillar into a beautiful butterfly. No. They'll continue to sit there after eating up the entire psyop, being agent of the Matrix, attacking their fellow man, attacking their fellow peasants. That's the worst thing about it. They're not even attacking the elites. The elites are in a hot air balloon. And if Earth was about to explode, the elites would just float away and leave everyone to die. The peasants who are on their side and the peasants who aren't on their side. The peasants who are on their side are attacking their fellow man. You have more in common with the man you're attacking in the supermarket for not wearing a mask than you do the person who told you you needed a mask in the first place. I guarantee you that, my friend. Nope. They just participated in the entire psyop, were agents of the Matrix, and they feel no shame, and guess what they're going to do when the next psyop comes? I'll bet you $100 million what they're going to do. Because they won't ever fucking learn because they don't self-analyze. So that's why I can sit here and say, I haven't been wrong about anything in the last 12 months because I am never fucking wrong. Because I've trained myself to not be wrong. I am also living in a reality where I'm not allowed to be wrong. If I made mistakes, I would be dead. And that's why I don't.
I am one of my sporting heroes. I like cricket. One of my sporting heroes is one of the best cricketers that's ever lived, Kevin Peterson.
Yep.
He's been on my show, and he said every time he got out for a low score, even if it was a peach of a ball, he'd go and punish himself for a few hours.
The only way to do it.
Yeah.
Only way to do it. There's only way to live life. And then you can just stop making mistakes. It's pretty easy to only win if you never lose.
You win by default.
It's a certified way to only win. It's just to never lose.
Yeah.
If you never make mistakes and you never lose, guess what happens? Oops. Billionaire. That was hard. Just don't misplace your keys. Easy.
Back to the 15-second rule.
Sure.
What's the best advice you ever remember receiving?
That's hard because there's so many answers. About 17 answers just went through my head. I can't possibly choose one.
One from your dad.
Allow manipulation to find out where your enemy wants you to go, then use your mind to break the trap and punish the perpetrators. And I have to elaborate. Sorry, I know it's
That's fine.
Rule. But the reason that's so important is because if you don't know where your enemy wants you to go, you might end up there on accident. If you don't allow your enemy to tell you what they're trying to do to you, you might accidentally end up where they want you to be. So you sit there and you listen to their bullshit head to toe and you say, why? You don't even ask why. Listen to their bullshit head to toe and say, okay, I agree. What do you want me to do? And when they tell you what they want you to do, you use your mind to break the trap and you punish the perpetrators. Because once they've told you what they want you to do, you can make sure you never fucking do it. If you never get them to tell you that, they might get you there another way. You might take the B road, right? They might say, we want to get him to do this way. He doesn't believe it. Well, then let's tell this lie. Now he's doing it. So you allow manipulation to find out where your enemy wants you to go, then use your mind to break the trap and punish the perpetrators.
What's the worst advice you ever remember receiving?
Follow your passion. Bollocks. Biggest crock of shit. If you're only going to do things you're passionate about and do things you want to do instead of getting up and struggling and doing things you're supposed to do because you have a duty to God and to yourself, you are going to be a loser forever.
Would you rather have 5 million new followers or $50 million in the hand?
Neither of them mean anything to me. Good question. But I would say 5 million new followers because we now live in an attention economy, and if you manage to use those followers in the right way, you can monetize it far more than 50 million. But it also depends who you are, if you can monetize an audience, if you have anything of value. If you're a dummy, better take the money.
Would you rather be the richest man in the world or the best fighter in the world? So best fighter and skin, richest man and a not good fighter. I was going to say pussy, but I don't use that kind of language.
Me neither.
My daughter's watching.
Me neither. I never swear. Good question. I would choose the richest man in the world because physical power is fleeting, unfortunately, and the richest man in the world would allow you to have a longer period of enjoyment. It would just last longer.
What's your biggest failure?
I've failed to yet free everybody. But you know what? I don't think I want to free everybody because if everybody's free, the world would be pretty chaotic. I don't know what my biggest failure is. I've never really actually thought about that question. I don't think in the paradigm of failure. Every day for me is a winning day. It's just how much I've won. Perhaps I haven't won 100%, perhaps I've won 62%, but every day I win. I don't fail ever, so it's hard for me to even answer that question. To even contemplate the idea of failing for me is very difficult. It just doesn't happen.
What's your biggest regret?
Again, these are paradigms and ideas I don't exist in. It's like another language to me. I can't think of regret. I don't operate in the realm of regret. I operate in cause and effect, operate in the harsh realities, binary decisions. I don't operate in regret. I don't operate in failure. I can't imagine myself regretting something. I can't imagine myself failing. I can't.
Right. Penultimate round, the what do you think of round.
Great.
What do you think of the cancellation attempt of Joe Rogan?
Yeah, that was ridiculous, but Joe Rogan is obviously too large to cancel. You get to a certain level of status. It's called saint status. Patrick Bet-David said that to me, and it's perfect when you have large organizations that support you, and UFC was behind Joe Rogan. Spotify stayed beside him, but they were thinking about deplatforming him, but he couldn't be deplatformed anyway because he had UFC behind him. When you get to a certain point of money and status, you can't be deplatformed. which is why they came for me before I got there. Once you get to a certain level, you can't be deplatformed. But yeah, they attacked him for telling the truth. In fact, correction, they didn't even attack him for telling the truth. They attacked him for asking a question. And they asked a question to somebody who then told the truth. And they thought that that means he needs to be deleted. And everybody knows, if anyone who's ever read a history book, that the people who do not like the truth being told, or the people who try and censor arguments, are always the bad guys. They are the tyrants. So everybody who came for Joe Rogan is a bad person. They're genuinely a bad person in their hearts. They work for the devil.
What do you think of Kanye West buying Parler?
Interesting. I think that the more people who escape the matrix or understand the information they obtain from matrix-controlled platforms is controlled, the better. There are a lot of Twitter alternatives now. I'm on Getter, possibly. Personally, I'm on Getter, Gettr. But there's Getter, there's Parler, there's True Social. There's a lot of Twitter alternatives popping up. I think overall it's a good thing for people to understand they must get the truth and more information outside of the matrix-held platforms. But I would like the idea of us all to centralize on one. It's starting to get a bit spread out, the Twitter alternatives. The great thing about Rumble, where I am, is they're the only serious YouTube alternative. So if you want video like YouTube without censorship, you go to Rumble. It's the only place to go, which just makes them very powerful. And the more powerful they are, the harder they are to attack. If they're all spread out with lots of different platforms, they're going to get wrecked because the large companies are going to come for them financially, legally. They're going to find ways to destroy them. But you need to get together, strengthen numbers.
Yeah. What do you think of Elon Musk buying Twitter?
Good question. I'm a massive Elon fan. I was so happy when he was going to buy it. When he said he wasn't, I was genuinely disappointed because it's more important than money. Free speech is more important than money. So when he was saying it's not worth it because of bots, I was like, bro, I don't care about money. There's no way you can care about money. Like, come on, my friend. This is more important than that. This is about the freedom of Earth. But perhaps it was all part of a plan. He's obviously a very intelligent man. I don't want to be arrogant. He must know some things I perhaps don't know. But
you wouldn't want to overpay for something, would you?
I would for Twitter.
Would you?
I'd give up every single penny I have for Twitter, even if it wasn't worth it. All of it.
Right.
100%, all of
Yeah.
it. Because then you get to control information. And you get to reopen the world to free speech. That's more important than money. I'd overpay for Twitter all day long. But perhaps he's less ideological than me. But maybe he knows things I don't know. But it looks like he's buying it in the end now, which I think is good for the world. Because we need free speech. Free speech allows different ideas. And I'm not going to sit here and say that, everything I say is all the people on my side are completely right, all the people on the other side are completely right. The truth is usually somewhere in the middle, but if you delete one side of the argument, you never get the truth.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important.
What do you think of all the lawsuits against Alex Jones of InfoWars and, all the families of the deceased children suing him?
Yeah, I understand he may have said some things he shouldn't have said. However, do I think he owes $1 billion for that? Absolutely not. What did I say was stage 3 of 3 stages? Stage 1 is they silence you. I think he's been deleted from everything. Stage 2 is they use the law to try and fuck you. So I think that Alex is on stage 2, unfortunately. Am I saying he's right in what he said? No. I don't know the details of what he said. I don't know the details of the event. However, he does live in a country with First Amendment protection. He should have free speech. And the fact they're charging him $1 billion for saying a few things is kind of crazy. Also, nobody's right all the time, right? He's a conspiracy theorist, but he's right 99% of the time, and then they find the one time he may have been a bit wrong and fucking wreck him. They're not doing that because they care about justice. They're doing it because he's on stage 2 of the 3 stages. Use the legal system to absolutely not only decimate an individual who they do not like. That's what it is. So it's certainly personal, which makes it unfair by definition. If it's a personal attack, then it can't be a fair attack, can it? We're all supposed to be the same under the law. So I think it's unfair.
What do you think of the woke left versus Jordan Peterson?
The woke left are hateful people. Jordan Peterson is extremely intelligent. The woke left are full of hate. They weaponize virtue to pretend they care about others because they're such hateful, nasty people that they need to hide behind something. They did the same to me. There's not a single woke leftist who attacked me for being misogynist, which donates to women's charities like I do. Not a single one who's built an orphanage like I have. Not a single one who takes stray dogs from the streets in Romania like I have. Not a single one who's prevented anyone from suicide. Nothing. They just took fake virtue, weaponized it, pumped it full of their own hate, because they're hate-filled, and attacked me with it. The woke left are the most hateful, divisive, intolerant people on the planet. There's no point in calling for tolerance for different skin colors if you do not tolerate tolerance of ideas. What's the point in that? To say that we love diversity, but only if everybody looks different, but thinks exactly the same. Is that diversity? No, sir, it is not. Diversity is not only that we look different, that we think different, that we act slightly differently. That's true diversity. These people are not for diversity or inclusion or tolerance. They are hate-filled, feral psychopaths. They attack me and they attack anybody who has any influence over the world, which does not absolutely and utterly go lockstep in line with their insane dogma and doctrine.
And that ends the penultimate round. On to the final round.
Final round.
So this is called Challenging Andrew Tate, where at times you've been challenged.
Sure.
And so I wanted to get your side of it.
Yeah.
And there's one from me I'd like to challenge you on. Just one.
Can't wait.
So, was Piers Morgan the worst interviewer you've ever experienced?
I knew what he was going to do. I don't think I lost. In fact, when my team sent me the report that, I think it was 3 days later, 99.4% of all comments on the YouTube video are positive for me. So it was certainly a PR win.
When you say you knew what he was going to do, was it discussed or you just know what his angle is?
I know what his angle is, and also before the interview, he's quite clever. Before the interview, he goes, listen, I've got some points of view where I'm going to challenge you, but we need to make sure that we don't talk over each other and make it a shouting match or it's bad for the viewer. So if I talk, let me talk.
And that's him saying, I'll talk over you.
Correct. That's how it gets you. So, clever, right?
Filthy bastard.
Clever. Clever. I think the only loser was, besides him, he lost.
The viewer.
And the viewer. Because I never got to explain anything. So it was kind of just like frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
So I won from a PR perspective. By all observable metrics, it was a good interview for me. So to say he's the worst interviewer, well, the idea of doing an interview is that you come off good. I came off fantastically. In fact, it was one of my best performances and I barely fucking spoke. So
So he could be the best.
it could be the best. So it depends how you measure it. Because
Yeah.
as I said, my team analyzed it in real time. All the comments are on my side. So perhaps he is the best, but the viewer certainly lost.
Yeah. I'm going to just say it. It really pissed me off. Because, like, I'm not as big as an interviewer as him,
Yeah.
but then I've got other business interests.
Sure.
This is my hobby.
Sure.
But I thought that was one of the worst interview performances I've seen because he didn't let you speak, he put words into your mouth, he set you up,
Yeah.
he linked some really fucking nefarious things and tried to link you to them,
Yep.
probably to grow his own channel, which is fledgling.
Yep.
I thought it was terrible.
Yeah, it was an attempted hit job. It was an attempted assassination that failed and backfired. He assassinated his own character another time. I mean, he's already put a bunch of nails in his own coffin, and he just put another one in. If the social media comments were 50-50, I'd be very frustrated and angry because it was so unfair.
Yeah.
But because it came out so fantastic in my favor, all I can do is
Be
all's
grateful.
well that ends well, my
Yeah.
friend. So when I got the report from my team and they said 99.4%, I was like, well, then he fucked up, didn't he?
Yeah. Like in my mind, as we were planning to come here, it's like, if you're going to interview Andrew Tate, the biggest fucking mistake you could make is not let him speak.
Yeah.
What, you don't interview Andrew Tate to fucking speak the whole time. Is that not just
Yeah.
101?
It's true, especially as I speak so much and I speak in such long form. But yeah, I think he knew what he was doing, and he was trying to link me to a little girl who committed suicide, which is disgusting.
Yeah.
Or trying to link me to Alex Jones's point of views,
Yeah.
specifically. Like I said, and I said to him, I don't know the point of view of you, all of your points of view. I don't know all the points of view of anybody I've ever done a podcast with. What's the point you're trying to make, Piers? I said, Piers, I don't know all of your points of view. Aren't you the piece of shit who was hacking people's phones for the Daily Mail? Aren't you the piece of shit who was telling everyone on Twitter they don't better get 17 injections or they're a terrible person? Aren't you the guy who was completely wrong about the thing we just discussed, who's never apologized for it? And forcing people to take experimental drugs? You piece of shit, Piers? So I don't agree with most of the shit you say. So I don't know what kind of trap you're trying to lay here, young old man. But he got wrecked. And the social media comments ensure he got wrecked. Maybe he's an all right person off camera. Don't know. Didn't speak to him much. But me and Piers, actually, I don't know if he knew this. I don't know if he recognized me. Me and him have been disagreeing on things for a very long time. We used to be arguing on Twitter way back before I got banned, like 5 years ago. So me and Piers have never really got along. I think Piers is a flip-flopper. I think he flip-flops on issues a lot. But he also did say I don't deserve to be banned on another interview separate to me, even though on my one he said I deserve to be banned. Maybe it's just his style. But, you know, he has also got a platform somehow, so he must be doing something right. I don't know. What can I say? But I certainly won by the observable metrics, and that's what matters.
Is OnlyFans a good way to make a living?
That's a complicated question. I can't sit here and promote women doing OnlyFans. I don't think there's anything actually intrinsically wrong with it. I think it's supply and demand. I think that if you have a product that men want, let them buy it. I think that the world is changing more digitized anyway. Everything's digital. Your friends are digital. Your business is digital, so you may as well have your girlfriend digital. That's just how life is for a lot of men. But to sit here and encourage women to do it would be semi-degenerate. But I don't think in and of itself it is bad if it's approached purely from a financial perspective with the right checks and balances in place. If you're a girl, you have a man, you're in love with that man, you're loyal to that man. There's men who buy pictures of you, who never see you, who don't know your real name, who live far away. And now you and your man get to be financially secure, build a home, have a nice family. I can't say it's a bad thing.
Do you actually like property? I'm confused here because I've seen a lot of content where you talk about not owning your own home, but you talk about having property. So do you like property or not? I've also seen you talk about seizure of property rights.
Yep.
So do you like property or not?
Well, firstly, the reason I say rent your own home is because it allows you to be flexible. I think that the most adaptable of the species survive, and rent is very flexible. It's flexible because, one, you can move easily. Maybe you get a job opportunity in Japan, you have to bounce. Or maybe your country's about to lock down because of the common cold and you don't want to be stuck in your house. Rent is flexible.
Or you can move out and rent it out.
Completely. Well, that's if you own it, right? We
Yeah.
go into that, but then you have to find a tenant.
That's easy.
Well, perhaps that is
I've got
easy.
1,250 of them.
Okay, perfect. Then let me change it. Then perhaps you don't want to have anything to do with that country anymore and you have to sell it, and that's not quick, right? Another flexibility you have with rent is not paying it.
I've got tenants who don't do that.
You know better than me the law in the West.
Well, yeah.
You don't have to pay it for 6 months.
Pro tenant, yeah.
So you can just not pay it.
Yeah.
So maybe you're in a situation where...
But you can also vet a tenant properly and then...
Correct.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, we're talking about flexibility. Darwin said the most adaptable of the species survives. This remains true. If you own a home, you are obliged to do X things. You can't not pay the mortgage, you lose the home. If you own the home, you have to upkeep it, etc. I'm saying if you rent a house, you can move if you get a better opportunity. You can move if the government becomes tyrannical, or if crime gets out of control, or something happens in your area which you're never going to know. And thirdly, a serious option is not paying it. And I don't want people to misunderstand me here. I'm not saying don't pay your rent. I'm saying if you have some information, let's say, the bull run that just happened, all that crap's over. But people were making money from thin air for crypto. Let's say you had some reliable information from people you trusted. Let's say those people have been right 100% of the time, and they said if you bought a particular coin, it was going to 1,000x. You could have missed rent for a month. And you could have paid it later. That's flexibility, right? So flexibility is also super important. So I always say the average person should rent where they live. I know that's strange because not everyone can rent. Someone has to own it. The people who own houses need to own them the way you own. If you own 1,250, you're doing very well. The way I own a house, it's not a mortgage. It's just give me this, beep, put on the card, bang, done. I own it, done. I don't live there. There's no work for me. If I had to sell it, I'd never need to sell it quick. I'd never need the money fast. It's something. It's just an asset. But that's why I say most people should rent until they're wealthy enough to buy it in cash. If you can't buy a house outright in cash, you shouldn't buy it. And even then, if you buy it, you need to be very careful. You need to make sure that that government is never going to turn on you. That area is never going to become downtrodden. And also understand that owning a house isn't free. There's property taxes, there's maintenance, there's upkeep. A lot of the time, by the time you pay all that shit, it's not far off rent.
Why would you not turn the bank system on themselves and get a mortgage on the property and leverage the bank's money and then have better opportunity cost of capital rather than buying houses for cash?
Absolutely, sure, that is a way you could do things. But now you're indebted to a bank. And it's fine if you have money from the sky, you can make money anywhere, that's fine, right? But if you are working a job, let's say in central London, and you owe money to this bank now because you've done it this way, that bank has a degree of control over you. You can't just quit your job. You can't just move. Things become very complicated. It just destroys your flexibility. To answer your question earlier, I don't own any property. I don't own anything. I own this suit, and that's it. So I don't own any property. Some friends of some trusts with some companies which are registered from Singapore may own some property.
Right.
That I have the keys to, but I don't own anything.
So you have some assets under your control that are property, but you don't own them.
I don't have any. The Matrix hates me. I don't have anything. But I have some keys to some houses. And yeah, of course, they appreciate. Of course, you can rent them. I completely get it. But the truth is this. Property, like many other things, is very successful for some, but for most, I think it wrecks them. It's player versus player, like I said, in everything. Doesn't matter if it's a cryptocurrency, which you buy at $1 and sell at $10. If you sold at $10, someone bought at $10. Someone gets wrecked. It's the same with property. You've done fantastically well from it. Congratulations. My property has never lost me a penny. Sorry, if I owned property, it would have never lost me a penny. Congratulations to me. But there's a whole bunch of people who get up, finish university, get a mortgage they can barely afford, work their ass off, pay huge interest rates, sitting there paying, and either a financial crisis comes and wrecks them, or they lose the home in the end because they couldn't keep up with the payments, or they finally get it paid off and they're so old that their life's fucking shit anyway. So property is not the be-all and end-all to anything. And in fact, I would recommend to most people, and if you look at most people's finances out here on the street, if you were to take 1,000 people who are watching this right now and look at their finances, 950 of them would be stupid to buy a house. There's 50, it's a good idea. But for the majority, it's not. And
Could
that's
you
the
say
reason-
that about any? Sorry to interrupt
Sure.
you. So I think it's the first time in 3 hours. So
No,
sorry.
no problem.
Couldn't you say that about 1,000 set of case studies of any human being?
Yes, you
1,000
could.
of them shouldn't go to your martial arts class because only 50 of them will survive.
Yes, you could. But the difference is the Matrix tries very hard to push the idea of property. Some of the other things,
But you can play the Matrix at its own game.
completely, 50 of them can, 950 can. And this is my point. My point is that the Matrix says do property, do property, do property. That is only applicable to a very small percentage. It's not applicable to everybody. The Matrix doesn't say do other things that are applicable to everybody.
No.
It tells everybody the same blueprint. And that blueprint used to be applicable to a lot more people. I don't think this was actually as deliberate as people understand. 50, 60 years ago, property was fantastic for almost everybody. 1 year's wage, you get a house. That house cost 75 grand. Now it's 450 grand. Fantastic. You did good. Absolutely. It's different now that the house is 450 grand, you're earning 40 grand a year. Now it's a very different scenario. So when your parents or older people say, yeah, do property, it was great back then. Now I don't think it's nearly as competitive as it was. I think that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. I think the poor are getting outpriced of most assets. I think that some of the biggest mistakes poor people can make or middle income people can make is chase assets they can't simply can't fucking afford. And the only way they can do it is to indebt themselves to a bank with interest and enslave themselves for X amount of years, destroy their flexibility to try and pull off owning one property, and owning one ain't gonna make you rich anyway. You gotta own as many as you do. And what I'm saying is, there's a small percentage of people who benefit from property, just like there's a small percentage of people who benefit from crypto or stocks. How many people lose in the stock market?
Most.
Exactly.
How many people lose in Forex? Nearly all.
All, correct. So this is the same with every investment. But the reason I'm only attacking property is because property is the one everyone says is safe as houses, good for everybody. No, it is not. It depends on your circumstance. That's my problem with property. In my scenario, or your scenario, how can we lose? If I buy a house for $5 million and I'm never, ever, ever going to need that money, I can wait until the day I die to sell it. Then I'm always going to make money. I go, oh, the property prices have crashed to $3 million. Then I don't sell it.
Yeah.
Who cares? It doesn't matter to me. If I had a mortgage on it, it'd matter. It was my only property, it'd matter. If inflation is 20%, my wages are going up 1% a year, all this shit matters. But not to me, not to you. We're the 50. But 950 people here need to join the real world and learn how to make money a different way. Because we teach you how to make money with nothing. If you make money with nothing, you can't lose. That's the beauty of it. You can lose if you invest in a house. You can't lose if you don't spend any money.
But if you raise money from other people, because money is infinite and everywhere, and partner up with someone and put that into property, that's money out of thin air. And then you buy, hold, die, you can't lose.
To a degree.
And inflation. One thing we haven't talked about yet. You have good debt mortgages.
Yeah.
Inflation's paying 20% that down a year for you.
Absolutely not really true. And I'm not going to sit here and say that everybody who's ever bought a house is lost. I only talk about this because the majority of my audience are 18 to 25, 26. They're being told by people much older than them that they buy a house, they'll be financially secure. And I'm telling them that that is simply not the case. And also, there's a bunch of intangible disadvantages, like the absolute inflexibility of the house. I don't know in your experiences, but people I know have spent 2-3 years trying to sell a house. 2 years is eternity. Eternity. 2 years ago, we were locked in our houses. 2 years ago is forever. So if you're going to accept that degree of inflexibility, if you're going to accept that degree of obligation, I think for many people that is a mistake. I think there's better ways to make money, and I think that renting is a lot safer for people. Especially now we're living in a world where a lot of money is made online. I have some people who can make money online. If you're making money online, even living in a Western country is stupid. Go to Thailand. Live for a fraction. Be safer. Not get stabbed. Like even living in the West in general is dumb if you're making money online, and more people are. So my point is nuanced. There's absolutely exceptions to the rule. There's absolutely scenarios in which I'm totally wrong. It's a nuanced point I'm trying to condense, and I'm saying that property used to be the cure-all for everybody. Get a normal job, work in a factory, pay off your house, be good.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore.
No, pension money is not going to be yours, is it?
Yeah, exactly. It's not like that anymore. And also, what did we say earlier about competitiveness? We said that there are people out there in the world competing with me, and there's people out there in the world competing with you. You're a property shark. You just said it. You're an animal. They're competing with you. Like you can pay more for it and overpay for it because you know you're going to have whatever. You can buy the houses next door and put shit tenants in them. Like if you want to fuck somebody, you could. So they're also competing with sharks, and this is the point I'm making. The reason I'm anti-property is because often it's a 24-year-old guy who just got his first good job out of uni. He might be able to, if he eats ramen noodles for the next 15 years, pay off this fucking council terraced house in Liverpool. And I'm like, bro, that is not going to save your life. You're going to be 50 in a shit house. That's dumb.
So are you saying to earn your money from a standing start. Putting money into property is probably not good, but when you've got wealth, parking it into property is good.
Correct. I think that if you have a lot of wealth, parking your money into assets in general is good. I think that property is a pretty safe asset overall, globally. It does go through some ups and downs, but property performs, you know, it's certainly a fantastic place. I think as a way to generate wealth, there's some people who say it can be done, that's fine, but I think it's very inflexible. I've always preferred flexibility. I think we now live in a world where a lot of money can be made online, a lot of money can be made from a phone, a lot of money can be made from a computer. And also, this all ties back into the very beginning where I said the ultimate bottom line of the world is violence. Property seizure is a perfect example. You mentioned property seizure.
Surely that's that's something I wanted to ask you. I feel like that's the last thing they'll take before a full-on fucking war. Like they'll take everything else first. They'll call in the gold. They'll debase money. That'll all happen before your fucking house.
Well, if they're going to do it to the whole population, I agree. But if they're going to do it to an individual, I disagree.
Yeah,
if you don't pay your parking ticket, they'll take your house. Sooner or later, may take a year, may take 2 years, they will take your house. So my question is this, do you own it? This is my problem with property. I own my house, do you? If they can take it off you anytime you annoy them?
No. If you don't pay your mortgage for 3 months, you'll see you own your house.
Yeah, that's right. If you don't pay your taxes, see you own your house. If you don't wear a mask when they tell you to and you get a fine for not wearing a mask and you think that's injustice and you don't pay the fine and they add money to the fine, then it goes to court, you're supposed to turn up, you don't, they send a bailiff, you tell the bailiff to get fucked, they will take your house. So if you don't wear a mask, they take your house. So do you own it? This is a philosophical question and you can answer. Do you feel like you own your property? Because I would argue that you don't own shit.
Philosophically, I don't think I own anything.
Well, I would actually disagree with that again. I think that there are things you can own in this world.
Well, philosophically though, you said philosophically.
Okay, well,
Like
it was
when I'm dead, I'll own nothing.
Well, that's true. Okay, then it was a hypothetical argument. It's a hypothetical point I'm making. When people say I own property.
No, I agree with you because I answered your question philosophically.
Yeah.
Don't think I own anything. You don't own your own property either as a structure. That's all we'll say. No, I don't think I own my property. I think I own the income it creates.
Correct.
And the capital appreciation I get.
I would say you own the income it creates when it's not in a bank, when it's in your hand for a while. You own it. Yeah. But
Yeah, well, I always take the income. The income comes to me. Now, obviously, if what happened to you happened to me,
then you wouldn't own it.
Then I could be fucked.
Yeah, you wouldn't own the property. If you got canceled to the level I got canceled, you would own none of that property and you would not own the income either because your bank would be frozen. You would own none of it.
What if the assets weren't in my name?
Well, then you might be okay. But this is my point. My point is but you're a shark who can afford complicated legal structures. Joe Schmo is getting a mortgage in his name.
But you teach Joe shows to become sharks, don't you? That's what you do.
That's the goal, yeah. But this is when I say I'm anti-property, it's because of the exact scenario I described earlier. 24-year-old buying a house, get a mortgage in his name, he owns it, and I say, listen, my friend, one, that's not gonna make you rich. Two, you don't even own it.
But I mean, owning it though, like what's that all about? Why does it matter if you own it? I like you have a lot of cars. I don't have 30, but I think I have 6 or 7. I don't own a lot of them. I don't own my Aventador. Yeah. I don't own it. I don't want to own it.
Completely. I understand and that there's a financial benefit to doing that. I get it. But property is something different because your cars are a toy and property is supposed to be an investment. And the point is that the whole idea of home ownership is a false paradigm. They're purporting.
I think we're now moving towards saying the same thing because I agree. I think selling you of getting into debt. The average American pays £600,000 in their lifetime in interest. The house that they've got you in debt in is a trap, and then you pay half of your money in tax, and then you pay £600,000 in your life in interest. Yeah. I think liberation is when you turn property into an investment.
I agree with you. And for me, it's just a philosophical thing where I think that anything that can be taken off of you, you don't own. So for me, once again, you're in a unique scenario as am I. But if you're Joe Schmo, owning it is never going to make you rich in any considerable, serious amount of time. 20 years from now, you might get hit by a bus. That's forever. I don't think that long term. All of my plans are 3 to 4 months maximum. And the benefit of renting it versus ownership, well, you can get kicked out either way, and you lose all your flexibility. What's the point? Now, once you're sitting there going, I have $7 million in the bank, I don't know what to do with it. Sure, buy some property. Of course, put together a complicated legal structure and own some property. Absolutely. But I don't think that applies to most people who come to me and say, my mom said I should buy a house. Well, you're a dummy. Your mom did something that doesn't work anymore, and you're still a dummy.
Thing is, sometimes your parents love you so much they give you bad advice.
Well, they give you the advice that worked for them.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. It's worked for them. So absolutely, why would they believe it doesn't work anymore? They were putting money in a savings account and getting interest on the money, like 4 or 5% interest on the money, and then buying a house for 1 year's salary that went up 10x. I'm sure it sounds like a great idea. Imagine if it was still that way right now, I'd tell everyone to buy a fucking house. But it isn't. And then you add into the fact that the government is getting more and more tyrannical. You add into the fact that violence is the bottom line. You add into the fact they will take your fucking house off you. What did they do in Canada to the truckers? When the Canadian truckers got tired of COVID, they went and they protested, and they lost their houses and lost their cars and lost their fucking pets. They euthanized their dogs. You know that?
I didn't know that.
They euthanized their dogs.
I knew that they clawed money out of bank accounts.
They euthanized their dogs and stole their money from their bank accounts. So a man who worked his entire life driving across Canada in a truck, who was a proud home owner, found out very fucking quickly that you don't own anything. It's a scam. So for me, especially as somebody in my situation, my precarious situation, which we've described at length, somebody who is an enemy of the matrix, considering that property is the most controlled matrix asset that exists, considering that if they could take it off me, they fucking would, I need to find assets which are very, very difficult to seize.
Decentralized hard assets, you mean?
Just, there are a whole bunch of things in the world which are actually very difficult to take.
Like?
And property is not one of them.
Yeah.
There's other things.
Like?
One is people not knowing you own things.
Yeah.
Protecting the fact that you even own it. Which is
Shut people like me up asking about it on podcasts.
Well, exactly. That's the first. That's the answer, right? One is protecting the fact that you own it. I mean, I don't know about your particular scenario, but in Florida, in America in California and in Canada, they were piercing LLCs. They're piercing LLCs to see who owns the LLC to seize the property. So once again, the law says if it's owned by a company that they can't take it or they can't see who owns the property in the company. Yes, they fucking can. Piss them off.
Yeah.
If you piss them off, they'll throw all the rules out the window. The same reason they're going to kill me. Murder's bad, but they throw the rules out the window when you annoy them. So this is my exact point. So I just personally could never sleep at night knowing, oh, I got 100 million in property. I'm good. Because I'd be like, I don't have anything. I have to be quiet and I have to be careful. And if they don't like me, they'll get me. That to me doesn't feel like ownership. Ownership is they can't take that off of me. That's true ownership. So you don't own property. It's a scam. It's a lie.
I enjoyed that discussion.
And I'm not saying you can't make a bunch of money from it. I'm not even saying that. I'm just, it's just.
You're
it's
more
philosophical.
talking about people who don't have a lot of disposable, tying a noose around their head of owning their own home.
Correct. And
Yeah.
then being in a position where they might lose it anyway if they don't completely live their life as a slave and pay every fucking parking ticket.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I mean, because how do they really enforce parking tickets? Let me give you a quick story. I bought an Aston Martin DBS 3 months ago. I pulled up outside the hotel. I bought it in London. I pulled up at the hotel. I parked in the double yellow. I left it there. Traffic warden was right there. So I'm going to give you a ticket. And I said, bro, have you ever seen James Bond look for parking? Give me a fucking ticket. Don't care. Put a ticket on it. Went in the hotel. Stayed in the hotel come on, I'm busy. Stayed in the hotel for 4 days. Ticket. It came out to a window. It was on my Instagram before they deleted it. A window of tickets. Now, how do they enforce those tickets? Well, we said they'll take your home off you, right? I don't own anything. I don't even own that car. And the car's not in the country anymore. It's sitting in my house in Bulgaria. So now what the fuck are you gonna do? So I got thousands of pounds of parking tickets, and guess what happened? Nothing. Zero. Because I don't play by the stupid rules the Matrix tells me to play by. If I was Joe Schmo and I ignored them, I would lose my home. But me, I could turn up, tell them to get fucked, and do whatever I want. And what you'll actually learn is that much like parking tickets, pretty much all laws on earth and all rules on earth have there's an economic level to which you must adhere, and there's an economic level to which you don't have to adhere. Anything that's financial in and of itself is basically saying it's okay for rich people to do anyway. Let's say I agreed to pay the fine. Cool. I didn't have to look for parking. I paid $3,000. That's worth 5 minutes of my time. So it's basically saying it's okay for a price. So it's okay for rich people. It's not okay for poor people. Whenever there's a fine as a punishment, they're basically saying no poors, no brokies, or rich people can do it. Look at banks. They make billions of dollars breaking the rules and pay $1 million fine. It's okay for the rich. Not allowed to do it with the poor. If you do that, if you pull off some fraud as a brokey, guess what happens? Jail time. Do the bankers go to jail? Fucking never. This is the whole way the whole entire world works. So extrapolating that out, yes, at a certain economic level, there are things you can do and Aikido you can pull that make property fantastic. But as a brokey, it's bullshit. That's the point I'm making.
Is the gender pay gap real?
No.
Why not?
Because women choose jobs which are generally lower paying, because they choose jobs they're more passionate about and interested in. And funnily enough, when you're interested in a job, it's probably not as hard as a job you're not interested in. if you're only going to do things you're interested in, they're going to be entertaining, and if they're entertaining, they're not going to pay you very much. I believe if the gender pay gap was real in the world we currently live in, as competitive as it is, there would be companies which only hire women because it would save a whole bunch of money, and you don't get that. I've seen this subject argued at length. I haven't had a job in so many years, I don't know. I know that if you ask the average woman, they certainly do believe in the gender pay gap, but my views are that one, women choose jobs they're more passionate about, which tend to be lower paying, because you only pay somebody a bunch of money because they're doing something they basically don't want to do. That's the first thing. I believe that, like I said, if a company wanted to be competitive, it would only hire women. And I also believe that there's a lot of legislation that protects and makes sure that people are treated pretty fairly. And I don't think that women give up their whole lives for a job like a lot of men do. I think the reason a lot of men are CEOs is, one, because yes, there's an argument that men have an evolutionary instinct to lead and perhaps are better predispositioned to lead because we're more emotionally stable. There is that argument. But truthfully, I know men like me who give up our entire lives to work. All we do is work. If we're awake, we work. That's all we do. I don't know a single woman like that. She sees the kids, she sees her friends. They're more emotionally rounded than us. They're more stable than us. They're probably a lot fucking happier. And they don't want to give up their entire existence to work. Why should they? I don't blame them, but that means they're not competitive. So if you're a company and you're trying to choose the best possible worker, and you have a man who gives up his entire life to work, and you have a woman who's had a few kids, wants to see her kids, do the school run, bake cakes, then she can't compete. So I don't think it's about gender. I think it's just about the amount of time invested in doing the actual job.
Mm. Could you argue, for example, professional football, like women and men, they might put similar time in? Why is there such a disparity there with what they earn?
I can absolutely argue that.
Yeah.
Do you know why women footballers get paid so little?
No.
I'll tell you why.
Well, I'm asking you. I'm not being interviewed.
I'll tell you why. Because women don't fucking support them. Male footballers get paid so much because men go and watch the male football. Women footballers get paid so little because women don't go and watch it. So blame the other chicks. That is a female problem. It's nothing to do with us. The reason that female footballers or female sports stars get paid less than male sports stars is because nobody wants to fucking watch. Because nobody cares. Now, it's not women who are supporting the male sports stars, it's men. So if your own gender has betrayed you, don't turn at us and say we were the problem. Don't turn to the patriarchy. No, it's not the patriarchy. It's your fellow females who have zero interest in watching you run around and kick a ball in the net. That's why nobody pays you anything, because nobody wants to fucking see it. Call it supply and demand. If nobody wants to watch it, nobody's going to fucking pay for it. So my argument there is very, very simple. No, the gender pay gap could not be applied to sports because females have betrayed their own gender absolutely. So to sit there and try and blame men is asinine.
So are you saying if there was equal support, there'd be equal demand, and as there would be equal demand, there would be equal pay?
There'd be equal TV rights, there'd be equal gate sales,
Sponsorships.
equal sponsorships, equal ticket sales, equal merchandise, equal everything. How can it be equal when nobody buys shit related? What kind of stupid mindset is that? And this is what they'll say, gender pay gap, I play football, but nobody watches you play football. That's like me playing guitar in a room by myself and asking why I'm not paid the same as Bruce Springsteen. Because nobody comes to my concerts. I'm on my own. I'm sitting there staring at a wall like a dummy. If you're gonna go kick a ball around and nobody wants to see it, then don't complain when nobody wants to pay you. Nobody wants to see it. Not my fault nobody wants to see it. I don't want to see it. Do you want to see it? Tell the truth. How many female football games have you watched in the last 6 months? Tell the truth.
The Euro Cup final, that's it.
Okay. Well,
And England won that. So one.
okay, one. Not bad.
But yeah.
Well, me, it's a firm fucking zero. And for most, it's a firm zero. Tough luck. That's life. However, let's flip it before I get called a misogynist. If you were to have a beauty pageant, the women get paid more than the men. Does anyone ever complain about that? No. But more men.
Top 10 OnlyFans earners are all women.
All women. So there's a whole bunch of industries where women can dominate, and there's a huge gender pay gap. Nobody complains about that. They only complain when it's the other way around. So they ignore half the argument, create a false paradigm, live inside the matrix, slave mind, ignore the truth. But the truth is there's places where women get paid so much more than men. And we don't complain about it because people want to see the women. But if people want to see the men, that's basic economics. Anybody who cannot possibly understand that is a lost soul.
Have you ever taken steroids?
Good question. And I want to say this on camera adamantly. And I want to say this straight to camera because if anyone ever finds out I'm lying, they'll crucify me. So this is why I'm going to say it this way. I swear on the memory of my father, I have never once in my life ever taken a steroid, ever. Not now, not ever. I'm not on TRT. I'm not on any kind of pills. I do not take creatine. I do not even drink protein shakes. I'm on 0 steroids. Perhaps I'm genetically gifted. Perhaps I'm God's favorite. But I'm in fantastic shape. I smoke cigars. I eat meat. I drink a lot of coffee. And I do train every day, of course, as long as I'm supposed to. But I have never taken steroids, ever, ever. And even when they're talking about me fighting Logan Paul, he's a massive steroid head. I have that from inside information. People close to him have told me he's on lots of steroids. He'd have to piss in a cup before I consider destroying him because he takes loads of steroids. If I took steroids, I'd be an animal. I'd be huge. But I do not take steroids because I don't need them. So no, the answer is absolutely no. However, True Geordie can keep taking his steroids. I'll still beat the fuck out of him. I'm not going to give him an excuse. You don't have to piss in a cup, my friend. You just have to turn up. Fuck him. The time will come. God's retribution is swift and surprising. The time will come where he pays the price.
So, I understand you say that, or have said, that depression isn't real. Why are there then over 700,000 suicides a year?
Because they believe in depression. I think that when you believe in things, you give them power. It's amazing how you can self-hypnotize. I'm not saying feeling depressed is not real. Everyone feels depressed. I'm saying the idea of depression as something you cannot control is a dangerous idea and paradigm. The reason so many people are committing suicide is because the Matrix is telling you that if you feel depressed, you cannot fix it. They tell you that depression is a disease that you can catch from the sky no matter how fantastic your life is, and you have no control over it. And I argue that absolutely. The reason the Matrix wants you depressed and sad is because when that happens, you are selfish. If you're depressed and sad, you only care about yourself. You don't care about your community or your family. You don't care about the world. You do not stand up for anything. You will accept being fucked in the ass like True Geordie. You'll accept any amount of garbage that they want to give you, any Matrix slave mind programming because you are too busy being sad to resist. This is why they tell you that when you are depressed, it is a disease. It is not a disease. You're depressed because your reality is depressing. The truth is, if I lived the reality that most of these depressed people live, I'd be depressed. Your reality is depressing. You wake up, your wife doesn't love you, your kids don't respect you, there's no milk in the fridge, and you're almost dead. Of course you're depressed. You're running out of time. You never had any fun or adventure. Andrew Tate's out here with all his supercars, living the life. We're here in Dubai doing a podcast. You're a brokey. Of course you're depressed. That's because your reality is depressing you. The depression is something deep in your heart and soul telling you that you need to change things. That is the unlimited trauma, the power I was talking about earlier that you can take. Take all of that depression and convert it into unlimited energy to fix your life. Energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be converted. Take the depression and turn it into motivation. And all of a sudden, you'll see how fantastic your life is. A guy emailed me saying he was depressed, he was going to kill himself. And I said, listen, before you do that, get a six-pack. He said, what are you talking about? You're fat, get a six-pack. If you still feel like killing yourself, good luck. By the time he sent me pictures of a six-pack, it was long emails thanking me how I saved his life. His reality was depressing. Of course you feel depressed if your reality is depressing. If your reality is fantastic, you won't feel depressed. I guarantee there's a whole bunch of people you can give $1 million to and the depression will disappear. The argument against that is why the famous people kill themselves, which I'm about to answer in a second. And the answer to that is actually going into the broader point, that the way the Matrix teaches about depression, they're trying to teach you to be helpless. They're teaching you that you cannot fight against it unless you take pharmaceutical drugs. And I say that it is not real in that paradigm, and that believing that is the case is going to destroy you. Having no hope will prevent you from fighting back. They're telling you it's hopeless, and it is not. If you do not believe in depression, like I do not believe in depression, no matter what bad things happen to me and how bad and depressed I feel, I know I can fix it. That will make me fight harder than if I believe I cannot fix it. The reason that rich people kill themselves is because they buy into this paradigm completely. They go to a therapist, and the therapist says, you have depression. It's not your fault. It's a disease that nobody can fix, and I can't help, and nobody can help. Then they give them a bunch of mind-altering drugs. Then they sit them there in therapy to talk about all the bad thing that's ever happened to them. Let me tell you something. If someone told me that I felt shit and I couldn't help it no matter what I did about my life, gave me a bunch of mind-altering drugs, and then sat me down to repeat all the bad shit that ever happened to me for hours and hours a day, I'd kill myself. There gets to a point where it just ain't fucking worth breathing anymore if you're gonna believe in that bollocks. But if you wake up and go, you know what? They're saying this is a disease, but I don't accept that paradigm. I don't believe in it. I believe that I can fix this myself. I believe if I change my reality and create an experience of life that I am absolutely and utterly satisfied by, I will no longer feel depressed. You will cure most of your own problems. Take two men, put them in two individual haunted houses. Haunted houses. One believes in ghosts, one doesn't. There's a loud noise in the night. The one who believes in ghosts wakes up and is paranoid, is afraid, can't sleep, is sitting in the corner of the room shaking. The one who doesn't believe in ghosts goes back to sleep. It is the belief in the ghost which punishes him, not the ghost itself. If you do not believe in depression, you can never be depressed. That's why I don't believe in it. And to go into a broader point about all of that, I don't even give a shit if I'm wrong. Because I've adopted a mental model that makes me ultimately and utterly competitive in all realms of human endeavor. And if by me not believing in depression, I am better at fighting the idea of being depressed, if I am better at making myself feel happier, if I am better at regulating my emotions by not believing in an idea, then I'll continue to stay wrong. I do not believe in things that take power away from me. I believe in things that make me more powerful. I will not sit here and start believing in ideas that are going to reduce my competence. Absolutely or utterly not. So I don't give a shit what scientist, doctor, I don't give a fuck who you put in front of me and try and convince me I am wrong. I don't believe in it because I am more competitive in this realm. And for the people who believe, if you and I go through the same terrible experiences, the same level of heartbreak and trauma, I guarantee your belief will destroy you when mine won't. And why would you believe in an idea that is against you? Why would you let your own mind become your enemy? Don't people understand that the entire world, the entire matrix is against you? If you can't control your own mind, what chance do you have? Every single ounce of my body is on my side. My mind is my ally, all the way down to my feet, my fingers. Every single part of me is absolutely and utterly on the same team. We are a united front against the enemies of freedom. How can I have my own mind betray me and tell me that I can't do something? I don't give a fuck if I decide to jump off this building. If I decide I'm not going to die, I am not going to die. My own mind will not betray me. Perhaps I'm wrong, but I believe that I stand a better chance of survival if I believe I will survive, as opposed to thinking I will certainly die. People underestimate the power of the mind. I do not believe in anything that takes power away from me. And another thing I do not do is adopt the thinking of people who are sad. When I say this, depressed people send me long emails trying to convince me I am wrong. Why the fuck would I want to think like you when you don't want to live? Why would I want to think like you when you want to kill yourself and I'm perfectly fine? Adopting the thinking of somebody who doesn't want to live anymore is probably the most stupid, asinine, inane, childish, ridiculous thing a functioning adult can do. If you're depressed, I don't want to think anything like you, so take your opinion and get fucked.
2 more questions. We were talking as we walked in briefly about how the UK is fucked.
Correct.
So
we agree. Let's shake on that.
Agree.
We agree.
Yeah, we agree. So do you want to just give us a little snapshot of your thought on the state of the UK, the politics in the UK, your thoughts?
Sure. Empires rise and fall, civilizations decline. It's such a shame because the patriotic Brit in me is genuinely appalled at how it was the largest empire on earth. The good old World War II days, stiff upper lip. Britain was such a beautiful country. The countryside to this day is still beautiful if you can avoid the crime-ridden cities. It's truly a shame what's happened to that amazing nation. They have failed because they have abandoned their age-old traditions. They've abandoned their religion. Christianity has failed to preserve any morality amongst the populace. It's failed to be a fearsome ideology that people do not want to fight against. So Christianity as a religion has failed by extension. And the UK is now attempting to use civility and legality to fight against absolute savagery, which is an extremely inefficient way to fight. Efficiency wins, and they will always lose. If you have people who can get whatever they want with 3 inches of sharpened metal, and your enemy against this is 2-year court cases, human rights objections, a lawyer, a legal team, tag, home leave, cultural differences, how could you possibly win? They can go to Wilkinson's and spend £2.50 and get whatever they want. You spend millions and millions and millions, and you can't even beat the guy. It is an inefficient system, and they are going to lose. The general populace are afraid to speak. They're afraid to stand up and talk about the true issues. There are people who are exploiting the UK because of its softness, because it is a soft target. Hard times, we know this one and how that all ends. And the UK is at the decline of its empire, and there is nowhere for it to go but down. There is no way they can possibly fix it because the populace itself are not acknowledging the problem to its true extent because they're matrix-minded and the news says it's not that bad. And they're also not hard-hearted enough to fix it. We're in Dubai now, where you have 200 different nationalities, an 85% immigrant rate, and 0 crime. Do you know why? Because people fear the law. It's kind of like if you walk into someone's house and it's pristinely clean, when you finish with your cup, you'll take it out. But if you walk into someone's house and it's a shithole, when you finish with your cup, you leave it on the table. Who cares? It's a shithole. And that's the problem we have with the UK now. When you walk into Dubai, everyone behaves, so you behave. When you walk into England, nobody behaves. So why the fuck would you behave? And nobody's scared of the law. Nobody's scared of their religion. Nobody's scared of the average English man. And it's actually a shame because the British were a warrior nation, perhaps the best in the world at it. The average English-British man is too busy fighting against his fellow man for some football game as opposed to fighting against anything important. The whole nation, head to toe, has failed, whether it's the way men interact with women, the way that children are raised, the things they teach in school, the family unit, marriages, the legal system, the financial system, the judicial system, the political system, the fact you cannot walk down the street alone at night with a nice watch that you worked your life for without getting stabbed to death by somebody who wasn't even born there, proves that it is a failed nation state. And I absolutely not recommend anybody with any money to fucking leave.
This show is called Disruptors. What does the word disruptive mean to you, Andrew?
I like the idea that disruptive makes people think, right? Everyone's on this train track and it's leading everywhere it's supposed to lead, down the matrix pre-agreed schedule, and all of a sudden there's a tree trunk and it has to stop and you have to think. My primary goal when I speak is to make people think. This is why I am deliberately provocative sometimes. Sometimes it's why I swear, like we discussed earlier. Because by saying things that jolt people's brains a little bit, they might slow down and think and absorb. If I sit and I don't talk as aggressively or quickly or compendiously or concisely, or if I don't swear, then it's very easy for it to go in one ear and out the other. So my talking style is designed to disrupt. So it seems like I'm on the exact right show. I'm in the place I'm supposed to be.
Amen. I'm really grateful you've taken all this time out of your very busy life for us on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, bro.
Andrew Tate, thank you very much.
I have a question for you before we end.
Yeah, sure.
What's the one thing I've said today that you disagree with most?
Property.
I bet.
Yeah.
Property millionaire disagrees with me. Funny enough.
Yeah, property. I agree that we don't really own everything we think we own.
Yeah.
But I have hundreds of properties in my city.
Yeah.
And I've worked hard to build those, and I know the amount of money it makes for me, and I've seen them go up in value. I started buying 50 grand sheds.
Wow.
And they've all gone up 3 times in the last 15 years. Peterborough, not far from where you were born, Luton, just up the road. I have always believed in owning your own home.
Yeah.
Because I think that asset you can leverage, because you can use it as collateral and it can get you started. But I do see your point, and I think society has changed whereby you're right, you only need a laptop now and you can create content and you can be more mobile.
Yeah.
And I think 10 years ago I'd have been completely with what you've said. I'm a bit older, I've got kids, having a really nice home that you own.
Completely.
You rent somewhere, you can't do what you want to, you have to have shitty carpets.
That's true, that's true.
Making an oasis, like this is my castle, I fucking own this place and I'm going to build my empire from this castle.
I get it.
And I've got that at home.
I get it.
But I enjoyed our discussion, and I think you probably swung me a little bit on the freedom part.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing though, but no, I think that I've really enjoyed the conversation. I think you make a lot of good points. I think you're very misunderstood.
Thank you.
And I wanted to give you 3 hours to talk without fucking interrupting you, Piers fucking Morgan.
I appreciate that, and I also appreciate that we had a conversation, we had differing points of view, and neither of us are calling for the other one to be censored, because we're not feral psychopaths, which is also nice. you
Yeah.
know? Isn't that the baseline of interaction between grown-up adults? Isn't that the baseline of humanity and civilization as a whole? Discussions between people and differing points of view. I love to sit and talk to people I agree with and disagree with, and I've never called for any of my enemies to be censored in any regard. The people who are trying to censor me are genuinely enemies of freedom and evil, and I appreciate you allowing me to speak. It means a lot to me, and when I ever come to England again, hopefully not for a while, but if it ever happens, we'll have to grab a coffee.
Yeah, that would be great. And could I ask you one question?
Sure.
Because I always want to improve in everything I do.
Sure.
Hardcore.
Sure.
Never satisfied. The only things about this interview I remember are the mistakes I feel that I made.
Absolutely.
So how do you think I was as an interviewer, and what could I do to improve?
I think you did really, really well. I guess for the viewer at home, you could maybe ask things You could try and disagree a little bit more. I don't think that would make it a better interview. I just think the way the algorithms work now, that if you have disagreeable clips or short clips where we're hard disagreeing, it's good for the algo. That's the only answer I'll give. As an interviewer, nothing. But for the video as a whole, if you say some things which are semi-controversial, you can clip it up, put it on TikTok, push more traffic, and that works. That's the only advice, that's the only thing I can say. But all in all, I was very pleasantly surprised, to be honest, actually. It was good. You let me give my whole 7-minute answers. It was fantastic. So, because I think that way, so it's very hard for me to make them short.
Thank you. I suppose I could have challenged a bit more. The one reason I didn't is flown all this fucking way, don't want you to stand up and walk out. Like, fuck me.
Next time.
Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah, actually, that would probably be a good clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've not got there yet. We've done, what, 1,200 episodes? We've not got there yet where someone's walked out. And part of me wants it to happen, but I didn't want it to be this one. Yeah, they have, digitally.
Digitally, yeah. So, yes, thanks for letting me speak. Anyone who agrees with my ideas, there's 3 layers to stay in touch with me because, of course, I'm deleted from all mainstream social media. Firstly, you can find me on rumble.com/tatespeech, which is a YouTube alternative. I share all my ideas there completely for free. And Getter @CobraTate, which is a Twitter alternative. My ideas are there for free. I also have free advice and free ideas at cobradate.com on my newsletter. You can go to the website and sign up completely for free. Every day I send an email with mindset and tips and tricks. Anybody who's interested in making more money is The Real World, which can be found on cobradate.com. And anybody who's interested in finding out the secrets of how money and influence and power can be used, there's The War Room, which is on cobradate.com.
Thanks a lot, Andrew. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do not leave this page without leaving your views below now. To watch more Disruptors interviews, you can see them here. Before you go, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. And remember, if you don't risk anything, you risk everything.